Welcome to our special council meeting, September 12th, 2022. The meeting has been called for a number of specific purposes as set out on the meeting agenda, published Friday, September 9th. Under council's meeting rules, no other business can be considered at the special council meeting. We will begin the meeting with the city clerk calling the roll for attendance at today's meeting.
Members of council, I will call your name. Please indicate your presence. Councillor Dillon.
Present.
Councillor Singh is present in person. Councillor Fortini. I don't see present at the moment. I'll come back. Councillor Medeiros.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Bowman.
Present.
Is present in person. Councillor Paleshi. Is present in person. Councillor Willens.
Present.
Is present in person. Councillor Vasante.
Present.
Is present in person. Councillor Santos.
Present.
Is present in person. Mayor Brown is present. Councillor Fortini. So you have a quorum.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, Peter. Having connection problem. I'm here.
Thank you, Councillor. All 10 members are present.
Okay. We're now at item 2, approval of the agenda. Before we approve the agenda, I understand the in-camera item may not be necessary, so we can remove it.
Yes, please, Peter, if you can remove the in-camera item for me, please, on personal identification.
Mr. Mayor, I believe that is item 8.2. Just let me confirm that. It's 8.2.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, just a few other updates. So 8.2 will be removed from the agenda as there's no update to provide. An email was just sent just before the start of the meeting with some updates on today's agenda. Item 4.2 is a delegation from Peel Regional Police regarding the discussion item, the request of Mayor Brown regarding Sheridan College International Students Plaza issue. That presentation was published with the revised agenda. Item 4.4 is a delegation from Azima Vizina, President and Vice Chancellor, Algoma University, regarding the discussion item from Mayor Brown regarding progress update on future expansion of Algoma University in Brampton. That presentation was just published with the revised agenda. Item 4.5, a delegation and correspondence from Nelson La Jeunesse, Brampton Minor Ball Hockey League, request to waive overdue account of $5,632. Related correspondence for that item was published with the revised agenda. Item 5.3 is a discussion item at the request of Mayor Brown regarding executing the Ahmedabad Friendship Agreement. There is a supplementary report from staff that was published with the revised agenda. And finally, item 7.9, bylaw 202-2022. And this is a bylaw to rename reserve account number 33, the community benefits, to reserve account 33, community benefits charges reserve fund, pursuant to Section 37 of the Planning Act, and this is in regards to a contemplated Planning and Development Committee recommendation that will be considered later this evening. Those are the updates, Mr. Mayor.
And one more item, Peter. On a special council meeting, do we have the ability to vary the agenda?
To vary the order and how it's dealt with? Absolutely.
So we have the Association of Senior Clubs of Brampton here, and I know their item is not a long item, so maybe we could have them go first, given we know they've got a large delegation here.
Agreed, Mr. Mayor. That would be item 4.6 on the published agenda, and that could be to vary the order as part of the approval of the agenda to be the first delegation.
Perfect. Okay, great. So that takes us to approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Paleshi to approve the agenda. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Does any member have a declaration of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act for any matter to be considered on today's agenda? Hearing none, the motion carries. Council, normally for special council meetings for a specific purpose to find the consent motion is not part of the special meeting. Given the special meeting agenda includes some staff reports deemed urgent by city staff, if council wishes to consider a consent motion for some of these matters, we can do so with the consent of council or by a procedural majority vote to identify agenda business as approval of the consent motion. So should I read these through and see?
If, through you, Mr. Mayor, if there's a will of council to,
And these are all requests from staff.
They're all staff reports.
They're housekeeping. And just say hold if you want it held. 5.19, staff report, administrative authority for staff to enter into agreements related to Section 261 of Development Charges Act. 5.29, staff report, initiation of subdivision assumption medallion developments. 5.30, staff report, initiation of subdivision assumption 2086758 Ontario Inc. This is North Castlemore, east of Airport Road. 5.31, staff report, initiation of subdivision assumption Kettle Point Investors Inc. This is for Countryside Drive and Dixie. 5.32, staff report, initiation subdivision assumption, Redberry Holdings and Jetron Holdings, Mayfield Road and McVean. 5.33, staff report, initiation subdivision assumption, Ornerstock Developments, west of Mississauga Road, Ward 6. Staff report, request to begin procurement, electrical vehicle charging stations, Phase 1. Hold. Staff report, traffic bylaw administrative update. 5.36, staff report, Hanson Road, south to Eastern Avenue, parking related concerns. Open meeting exception 239, potential litigation. Open meeting exception 239, informed, explicitly supplied in confidence of municipality local board. Open meeting exception 239 2K, a position plan or procedure criteria. Okay, so we have one item held. The clerk will summarize the items to be included in the consent motion.
so through you, Mr. Mayor, 5.19, 5.29, 5.30, 5.31, 5.32, 5.33, 5.34 is held by Councillor Paleshi. That's the request to begin procurement for electric vehicle charging stations. 5.35, 5.36 are to be included in consent. And on the closed agenda, all the business will be included as part of the consent motion. Just to note that item 8.4, there is a public motion that council can deal with prior to adjourning tonight's meeting. So there will be there's no necessity to move into closed session with the approval of the consent motion.
Great. Okay.
Recorded vote?
Yeah.
A recorded vote is required for the consent motion. All in favor or opposed, please indicate. Councillor Dillon. Councillor Dillon?
I got cut out. My screen is frozen. What's the vote on, Peter?
This is the vote on the consent motion for some
Yes,
staff
yes,
reports.
yes.
It's a yes. Councillor Singh? Yes. It's a yes. Councillor Fortini?
Yes.
Councillor Medeiros?
Yes.
Councillor Bowman?
Yes.
It's a yes. Councillor Paleshi? It's a yes. Councillor Willens?
Yes.
It's a yes. Councillor Vasante?
Yes.
It's a yes. Councillor Santos?
Yes.
It's a yes. Mayor Brown?
Yes.
That carries unanimously, 10-0.
Okay. We don't need a mover or a seconder? Okay. Moved by Councillor Willen, second by Councillor Vasante. Okay, this takes us to announcements and delegations correspondence. So I've got one proclamation and I've got two announcements. For proclamation, it is Jean Augustine Day on September 9th, which was on Friday. There was a beautiful celebration in Toronto, and we declared that day in honor of her 85th birthday. We have a school named after Jean Augustine in Brampton. She comes to many of our events, particularly with United Achievers. She's a trailblazer, and she is determined to help empower communities, particularly of African diaspora and Caribbean diaspora across the GTA. I spoke to her Friday night at her birthday, and I know she was elated that our city made this proclamation. She feels a very profound attachment to our city. So this was proclaimed on Friday and has been shared on social media. Two announcements today. The first announcement is the Police Association was going to be making a delegation today in regards to auto thefts. It was something their president brought to my attention. They would appreciate our advocacy on. But we had a tragedy today, and we lost a Toronto police officer who was brutally killed today. And it's an active live shooter issue that's happening right now. But obviously, our hearts go out to that officer's family, to the Toronto police. This was at it was near a training facility of the Peel Police. So I know the Peel Police are overcome with grief right now, as their brothers and sisters are in the Toronto Police, and so that's why Adrian won't be with us today. But I think it's fair to say that we all send our condolences and solidarity. There's very few professions where they run towards danger when many people run away. And so I think this is another example where there's an incredible debt of gratitude that is owed to our first responders. And so just horrifying news to hear. And then another announcement of sadness. Of course, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, the United Kingdom's longest-serving monarch and Canada's head of state, died on September 8th, 2022, at the age of 96 after reigning for 70 years. I know protocol has shared with all members of council the manner in which we are expressing our grief as a city. There's a book of condolences in the city rotunda. We're planning a vigil that the Legion, the parade commander, Henry Vershin, is taking the lead on, and that will be 8 p.m. on Sunday night. But I think it's fair to say that collectively we are expressing our gratitude for what was an incredible reign. Peel Region has a number of places named in the honor of the Queen, including the City of Brampton's historic venue, Alderley, named the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Pavilion. The City of Brampton has lowered its flags at all facilities in memory of Queen Elizabeth and in honor of her dedicated service. And I would note the book of condolences are available for any residents to sign from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And what has been interesting as I've been in the lobby, I've encountered residents who all have a different story about where they've seen Queen Elizabeth in Canada on her many visits. But I think in Brampton, that visit in 1973 is one where there are many fond memories of. And so our city has a history, a fond history with her reign as well. This takes us to delegations. And our first delegation, since we varied the order, will be on page 11. Yes, 4.6. And if I could, should we put the motion on the floor at the same time, or how does it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we can bring forward a motion if there is one on item 5.4.
Okay. So we can hear the delegation on seniors recreation and then speak to it afterwards. We can, if that's the will of council, to move up the item. So I believe we have a speaking on behalf of the club, Janjir Sembi, Pritnam Singh Sran, and Mohinder Singh Mohi.
Respected Mayor Patrick Brown, the Council of the City of Brampton, ladies and gentlemen, I, Jangir Singh Sambi, President of Association of Senior Clubs, Brampton. It's an organization of 38 senior clubs of Brampton, and more are expected to join in future. We are affiliated to the City of Brampton. Senior citizens are valued assets to the Canadian society. These citizens have contributed to the Canadian economy over their lifetime, and now they would like to enjoy their retired life with honor. We are thankful to Mayor Patrick Brown and the Council of the City of Brampton for the free travel in Brampton Transit granted to seniors. Seniors are able to reach community center for the appointments with the doctor and to the grocery stores very easily now. They are very happy. Actually, mainly in Brampton, there is one program called Active Assist Program. This program was available earlier, before 2018, for all the low-income seniors also. But suddenly in 2019, the low-income cutoff was reduced to 26,000, where earlier it was $31,544. Now it was reduced in 2019 to 26,849. So with this figure, not even a single couple could avail this opportunity for this program. So actually the seniors, they should be active, but they couldn't because they can't afford also. And we requested so many times to mayor also, we met our councillors also. For the last 1 year we had been trying, but this was not raised. As you know, the health is more important to all of us, especially in the old age. We must be active, but to use the city facility, we can't afford to pay the fees for the programs. It's very difficult to make both ends meet as the community prices are skyrocketing nowadays. If seniors are not active, more seniors will be socially isolated, lonely, suffering from depression, physical and mental health deterioration also, and in some cases early death also. So this becomes a added burden to our already overburdened health system. So seniors are requesting that the various programs providing exercise activities for seniors over the age of 70 should be delivered free of charge. We are thankful to the city. They have given some rebate in the property tax also for seniors, but that's only very little. That's from 400 it are raised to 500. We propose that should be raised to up to minimum $1,000. And one more thing. See, normally our community seniors have the property in joint ownership with the siblings. So this rebate, only the person, those who are having independently they own the property, they only get it. So our seniors, maximum 95% seniors, they don't get any rebate in the property tax. So we want that this rebate should be given to all the seniors, whether the property is in joint ownership or independent ownership. Hope you will assist us, and this will give some comfort to the seniors. Thank you.
Respected Mayor Patrick Brown, the Council of the City of Brampton, ladies and gentlemen, I only want to add something that was not included in Assembly's address. The problem here is that we are seniors, okay. We have worked a lot. We have worked, some people worked for 10 years, 20 years, maybe more. When one retires, one cannot work as well, one cannot find home. If he had not bought a home, he cannot have any chance to get in this time that he can own a house. So we need some financial help. We don't ask for more budget. City already have facilities, especially facilities for training, facilities that don't need any budget anymore. So we only ask for that facilities to be restored to us, which were taken away. I don't know why they have taken away those facilities for the senior. And this time of inflation, we are very, very hard to make ends we can't survive in this time of inflation. So now there is only one point that we want to focus, that is that we must have some way, you can do it. You already have facilities for our exercise, for so many facilities there, but don't have access to those facilities. So please do something to provide those facilities. In this time of COVID, we need our immune system to be strong. Winter again coming. Nobody knows what is going to happen on the COVID side. Already people suffered a lot. So now there is going to be election. We request you, we ask you, we demand that there must be facility for us so that in winter time we can have access to those facilities that you already have, and you don't need any allocation of budget for that. Thank you.
Respected mayors, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for giving the time. So, Mr. Jagmeet Singh Sembi and Mr. Mahinder Singh Mohi tell you all the problems of the seniors. I also agree with their demands, so I may help to you for this for these facilities to given the seniors, mostly active assist program. All the seniors above the age of 70 years will be free. So all seniors may help to help their good health. So I agree, Dwara. I again agree with the Jagmeet Singh Sembi and Mahinder Singh Mohi. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, questions for the, a question for the delegation? Who's it from? Councilor Medeiros, do you have a question for the delegation?
Not so much a question, but just a comment. In terms of the clubs that they represent, can we get a copy? Because, again, notwithstanding, I have several senior organizations in my area, and I've never heard about this affiliation. So if there's an understanding, if there's a copy or somewhere they can give us maybe by ward breakdown what clubs are affiliated with them. That can be sort of, I'm not sure if staff can get that for us, or I've never heard of the organization. I'm not saying that there is an affiliation from my area, but I just don't know, because I work very closely with many senior clubs in my area, and I've never heard that as a top issue.
So the question from Councilor Medeiros was he's not familiar with your organization, and he works with his local senior clubs. Could you let him know what senior clubs you represent, and how many, and if there are any in his area, which is wards 3 and 4?
Yeah, this actually association, this is association of seniors clubs. We got around 40 clubs here, and we are also affiliated to the city, and those clubs are also affiliated to the city. And we every month we have the meetings, and we have the executive committee also. And you see, all the problems which are to the city, we divert to the city. We meet the people, and they definitely they listen us. And if you like, I can give you the list of all the clubs. And this is all from the whole of the Brampton. It's not from one side. It's from east also, west also, in the center also.
Yeah, and thank you. For you, Mr. Mayor, I sit on the Seniors Council, so I'm familiar with the clubs that sit there. So all I want is the background to understand what this represents. But if you sit at the Seniors Council, I can get that from the Seniors Council. And then after, I'll wait for staff. I have some questions.
was just a notification about the active shooter investigation that we spoke about earlier. Thank you, Councillor Medeiros, and this is the Association of Brampton Senior Clubs. And I would note, I had the chance to go to their gathering at the Save Max Center. Let's wait for the notification to finish. Yeah. And if I recall, I was there with Councillor Singh, Councillor Dillon, Councillor Santos, Councillor Paleshi, and there might have been 2,000 seniors there that day, so it was quite a turnout.
Yeah.
And so we're grateful for your advocacy, and thank you for the delegations. For the purpose of the debate, if we could put the motion on the floor. We're going to pull this up for everyone to see. And I want to thank Councillor Frattini for first raising this suggestion to me as something he'd like to discuss. We have a motion moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Frattini, but I believe the Chair of Community Services just sent me an email requesting if she could second as well. And all this is to get the cost of what it would cost to make recreation free for all residents over 70, to recognize the benefits of health and active lifestyles. This would be, if we get more seniors going to our rec centers, this would be a gift to our hospital system, because leading healthy, active lifestyles alleviates the burden on the hospital system. Frankly, if you look at some of the challenges we have in society, chronic illness, diabetes, Alzheimer's and dementia, they say that one of the best ways to push back against those ailments is through leading healthy, active lifestyles. If we can grow the activity at our beautiful recreation centers from seniors, that would be, I think, a real golden moment for the for seniors in Brampton, and frankly for the city of Brampton. And so I know Councillor Frattini and Councillor Santos are going to want to speak to this, but I'm going to see if Peter has a list, because some people are online. Right now I've got Councillor Singh, and then Peter will let me know who he has online. Councillor Singh.
I'm on the board, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we don't have you on the board, but we'll make note of that. We'll get you up, Councillor Frattini, after Councillor Singh.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the Association of Seniors Club for coming here and delegating. I've had the opportunity to work with the association over the past 8 years since its inception to creation to what it's become now. And it's because you get everybody on one platform and effectively lobby. We've seen results when it comes to the transit fare, and now we're working on the seniors passes. So I'm more than happy to support this motion. We've talked about this many times as well. And we'll have a more fruitful discussion at budget, but in the meantime, getting the research ready and prepared, I'm more than happy to support. And thank you to everybody who showed up, and thank you for coming yourself, Mr. Sebi. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we have Councillor.
Did you want to? Oh,
Okay. So we're just.
We're going to take a moment pause. That our stream is down. stream is back on? Okay. So, Councillor Singh, had you finished your comments? Okay. And thank you for the kind comments about this association, Councillor.
Sorry, it's Councillor Dillon. Could I get on the board as well? I don't have a button for some reason.
Okay. We have Councillor Fertini next, then Councillor Santos, then Councillor Paleshi, then Councillor Dillon. So, Councillor Fertini.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Chambry. I want to assure you that we've been talking about this with the mayor for the last 7-8 months. And I know you mentioned it to me many times, and I do agree with you. It's very unfair when we get free transit and we look at the income, but when it comes to the gyms, we do look at the income. I remember when you mentioned it to me, it was 75 and old, and I kind of said we should do 70 and older. And up to, what was it, 3 weeks ago, we had a good conversation at one of the events with Dr. Sing Song, and I said we would bring this forward. So I did say it was going to be a budget item, and we have to get a report back and see the cost, but I'm happy to second it, and we'll see what the budget is, we'll bring forward when we go through it, and I wish all the seniors, like, I do agree. There's one thing I wanted to add on this, Mr. Mayor. Like, we got a lot of, one of the seniors said they have issues now that it's winter to not go anywhere. So we just opened like Riverstone, and there's a big room there, all nice and glass and all, but we're giving them a room downstairs. And I'd like to look into that, how we could turn that room for all seniors as a drop-in center, not just for one group, because we do have room downstairs for a group, and we got Ebenezer, but upstairs would be really nice if they could use it as a drop-in. It's lots of light in there. They got a patio outside, and I think it would be a great room. So I'd like to also request if we could put that on part of it for those seniors out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fertini. Councillor Santos.
Thank you so much. And through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming in, for all of our seniors for coming in today to speak on behalf of this item. As Chair of Community Services, I obviously support this motion and happy to second it as well, together with Councillor Fortini. I think that this motion in particular, and if you could comment on this, winters are hard for seniors. So Councillor Vicente and I have recently, over the weekend and every weekend, visit many of our seniors in the parks. And it's so beautiful how connected everybody is and utilize our parks in the summer. And one of our biggest fears is over the winter months or the colder months, and what happens to seniors at that point when they're not able to be outside. And I know that one senior in particular had shared with us, the isolation and being stuck at home. So perhaps you can share what this would mean to you and the seniors in terms of free access to our recreation facilities in the winter. And also about, being proactive with your active life, with your health.
That's true.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Santos.
Okay.
We have up next Councillor Paleshi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all for coming in today. I've been meeting with a lot of you over the last while, and as you always told me about how much you love the outdoor equipment in some of our parks, but unfortunately it's only in some of our parks. So there does have to be a balance, right? We need to do better at the city to ensure that we have that outdoor equipment in all of our parks to ensure that our seniors are getting the best physical activity. And I know that the mayor can go on about Alzheimer's and dementia, and I ask that he does talk about that a little bit, and those are some of the things that combat that terrible disease. So I'm fully in support of staff having a look at this, but I'd also be interested in what it means at 65 for the city of Brampton as well, what it means at 70, what it means for us at 75 as well. So if we could kind of look at all those scenarios and across all facilities, we need to treat this right across the city as all the same. But then keep in mind that with more use out of the equipment, what does that mean also? and how are we going to expand the equipment that we have in some of the facilities as well? Because what we don't want now is a lineup going, it's a good problem to have, but we don't want a lineup getting into the facilities, right? So I'm really supportive of this and happy to move it.
Okay, so we have, I take that as a friendly amendment, that we have the additional information included for what it would cost for 65, 70, and 75.
Perfect, thank you.
70 will be much better if you can allow it. Yeah.
This way we have the options of what the cost is.
Okay.
But I'm also looking for the number of participants as well for the CCA.
The CO want to speak to that point?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to add that I quite agree that recreation and fitness are key to healthy lifestyle living. But I just want to ask for a little bit more time when we do their staff report, because the cost of giving free membership to seniors is one thing. I have soft costs behind maintenance costs that we'd like to factor in as well.
When is budget this year?
When is budget? We are going to be a little later this year because of the election year, so we'll probably be putting forth workshops beginning in, I think, December, Peter, and then we'll be going through to January, and budget will be early February.
Okay, so then would it be fair to say January 1st? Aim for?
Absolutely. If you could give me to January 1st, that would be enough time.
Or just attach it to the budget? Just attach it to the budget? To budget
Yes.
deliberations?
We'll attach it to the budget for budget deliberations. And all I'm referring to is we might need extra staff. We might have to refresh equipment we have. We have to include space, utilities, cleaning. There's some other costs that are associated to it. And then I heard quite clearly from Councillor Paleshi the resources piece, but also here the location. We might want to come up with a plan where we can't put it in every park. It's just not feasible, but we can identify main parks that we can invest a lot more of equipment in one area. So we might want to come up with a couple different plans for you to give you some options.
Okay, I don't think this one is about the equipment in the parks. This is about the rec
Well,
centers.
but I heard that from Councillor Paleshi for the summertime as well. So that's
Yeah,
what I want to add to
coming
that
up
for
in
the
the agenda.
budget.
Is it also that we can use the existing facilities, whatever we got? I don't know. At least in the winter we should be able to use it. Summer at least we can go out. We can do so many activities. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not necessary that all summer we should be going there. But at least for the winter we should be allowed. Winter we can't go out. We don't have anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a great suggestion. But I'm looking at also the number of people that we feel that at that 65, 70, 75 mark would be utilizing the facilities based off of, the age and the median age of the city of Brampton, how many use our facilities now, and then how many, just the rough idea, the best guess to met.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. And anecdotally, I'll say, and I think Anand will support me on this, our programs are well taken up, and it's just a matter of how many more programs we can add given the space we have.
Excellent.
Okay.
And one more thing, just wanted to know. See, we earlier had, before 2018, we had the limit cutoff, 31,544. Why it was reduced in 2019 to 26,849? What was the reason? I couldn't get that.
So this will fix that.
But if it is fixed, then also at least the low-income seniors can join the gym.
Maybe Anand, do you want to speak to that? I know we're a little bit out of order, so I'm giving some discretion, because normally we don't.
Sure. I can
The question time is already.
For sure, I can take a step. So the LICO piece is a little bit different. It's provincially driven. And so the low-income cutoff is what we use. They dictate it for Brampton itself. We are planning on coming back. We've been working with the seniors groups to see if council has the appetite to do a little bit higher than the LICO cutoff. So we'll have a report coming back on that as well. So we've been working with Colleep and the seniors group on that too.
So that was a provincial decision?
Provincial in general, every year they give us a LICO cutoff. Yeah. So that cutoff is based on their census data, and then they also use geographic data to give us a cutoff. So we get a Brampton specific one that we also then apply. So I know that there was a little bit of confusion between the free dental care for seniors and then some of the LICO piece. So we've kind of cleared that up, but we do want to come back with a proposal to council to see if there's appetite for us to go above and beyond what the LICO cutoff is.
Thank you. This takes us to our next speaker, which is Councillor Dillon. Councillor Dillon?
Thank you, and yeah, sorry, can you hear me?
We can.
I just want to thank the, firstly, I agree with them and Minson, I just want to thank the Seniors Club for coming in and delegating. I think this is a very important issue. Mr. Semby's been very active. The association's been extremely active for the past number of years. I know with the free bus transit, this council was able to pass, and a number of other initiatives as well. And I kind of just want to touch on a couple of points as well. And you know, my father's in his 70s now, and he's been pretty sick the last couple of weeks. And you know, it's the isolation and the loneliness that I think in the winter months, especially, that really causes a lot of physical and mental stress. And I think having an outlet for them, especially in our harsh winters, is something extremely important. And so, you know, I'm very, very glad this was brought today. I'm proud of the work that the association does, and I'm proud of, you know, the fact that this council is supporting this going forward. And I look forward to when it eventually comes to pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dillon. Councillor Medeiros.
Yeah, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. First, the staff. In terms of the active fit subsidy that we provide, what was the amount? And I know we always have an issue where it gets we max out on a yearly basis, and that's one of the budget discussions. But can you tell me what the budget is, and do you have a profile, or do you have an understanding of the participants or the applicants for this program in terms of identified need?
Yeah, through the chair. So this would be a little anecdotal. I'd love the opportunity to come back with a little bit more of a opportunity to look at the profile itself. We do allocate close to 5.5 to 6 million is our total. Sorry, 2.7 million is what we have right now. If we expand LICO, it would be a little higher. The funds redeemed are a lot lower, so we hover around 46% of the funds that we do allocate. So we haven't really capped out, for lack of a better term. It is more just the folks that qualify and then apply. It's a matter of getting them to also come in and actually use the funds and redeem. So it's a little bit of a mix of both. It's allocation is one, but also educating folks on where and what they could use those funds for.
Yeah, and I guess the question, and if you can bring that back in the report in terms of the applicants and so on, because I understand fully supportive of that we're helping seniors. If you recall, members who sit at the region, we have United Way poverty by postal code report, and really identify young families who had a huge issue with affordability, access to programs, access to transit. And, you know, notwithstanding, I would hope in the report that comes back that we not, you know, as part of the motion, I would also say that if this seniors group belongs to the Brampton Seniors Council, then the Brampton Seniors Council should be consulted with and provide their sort of view on the issue. And then after, it would be good in the report to come back with who took up the program, who applied to the program, to see what the identified need is. And you know, my concern is always, as we support, we have free transit, and notwithstanding, we want our seniors active, but we want to ensure that we're giving these type of supports to the folks who have the greatest need. So I would like to see that report come back when it comes to budget. So as part of the motion, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move an amendment that also that the Brampton Seniors Council be consulted with. Thank you.
Okay, we can take that as a friendly.
One more thing, sir. Brampton Senior Council has already written to the city earlier also. So many times they are educated also. Mr. Marna Madam, who is the president of the Brampton Seniors Council, they have already given the letter to, and they have sent me the copy also, for this 70 plus seniors. They should be given the free facility for this. Yeah.
Okay, so Councilor Medeiros, that is part of the correspondence from the Seniors Council.
Yeah, and that's fine. As long as there's a consultation with them, then that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have the motion on the floor. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, seniors, for your advocacy.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, a motion to receive the delegation? Okay, good. So if you, you're welcome to continue to watch council. Otherwise, feel free to depart. So this takes us to back to our regular schedule. And the first presentation, we have a representative from the Peel Police. And may I say, while we're waiting for the presentation in regards to the College Plaza and what steps are taken, may I say I've got an update that the active shooter issue has been resolved and one person is in custody now. So thank you to the Halton Police for and the Peel Police for a quick response, and our thoughts continue to be with the officer. And so thank you for taking the time to give this presentation. There's obviously a lot of alarm in the community with incident at the College Plaza and the use of a sword, and what more we can do as a city in partnership with the police to keep that area safe. And thank you for coming today. I know Deputy Chief Mark Andrews was going to be here, but obviously he's been taken away with the active issue as well.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So on behalf of Chief Nisha Nduriapa, thank you for having us here at Council today. It's great to see so many friendly faces in the room. I'm here today to speak to you about the College Plaza. My name is Sean Gormley. I'm the Divisional Commander for 22 Division, which in the encatchment of the College Plaza. If I could get the next slide. The College Plaza, as we're speaking about, is situated at the southwest corner of McLaughlin Road and Steeles Avenue. I'm sure many here are familiar with the plaza. It's called College Plaza. That's the actual proper legal name for the plaza. I see my friend Harinder Mali from Sheridan College is here. I had a meeting with her last week. Obviously, Sheridan College often gets branded with being responsible for some of the issues at the plaza, but I can have some discussion with you about that and how that impacts the college. What I do want to note for you is the plaza itself, there's a Tim Hortons in the middle area of the parking lot. There's a Wendy's at the corner, which is angled. At the top right of your screen there's a Rexall Pharmacy, and that area of the parking lot is the one that our officers generally find is where most of the activity occurs, and that's where most of the complaints come in. There's houses, as you can see, that back onto the plaza, and I receive numerous emails and complaints from citizens about issues that go on at the plaza. But I do have some good news to share at the end of my presentation. If I could get the next slide. In terms of statistics, since January of 2020, we have had over 1,000 calls at that plaza. Citizen-initiated would be calls that came in through our communication center, and then 676 are officer-initiated calls. That's proactive patrols. And when you look at the hours, we've spent, in excess of 17, almost 1,800 hours at that plaza. That equates to a full officer's year time at that plaza dealing with issues. The graphs at the bottom indicate kind of when those calls have occurred in the last, call it 21 months. You will note that at the start of the pandemic, there was certainly a spike, and that's when I became the commander at that division, and I was overwhelmed with the issues we had at that plaza. I think a lot of that happened because there was just not a whole lot for people to do at that plaza, or just in society, everything was shut down. The area itself, as you are aware, has a lot of international students, and generally we're finding that many of the people that are going to the plaza in the evening are international students, or at least have some association to them. And so the next slide, just to give you some comparisons, we looked at 3 other plazas in the area. the two that are at the corner of Ray Lawson and McLaughlin, and then the last one being the one on Steeles Avenue right across from the college. And the next slide shows that there's simply no comparison in terms of how much resources we have to put into that one particular plaza. So, you know, how are we going to approach this? So the next slide is our community safety and well-being approach, which many of you are probably familiar with. From an incident response, I can gladly say that the incident that we all saw on social media, the gentleman a few weekends ago that pulled out the sword and was, you know, swinging it at a victim. He's currently a guest in the cells at 22 Division. He was arrested earlier today. We will continue to investigate these matters. We take them very seriously. They're not easy investigations, though. I can tell you that it takes a lot of officer hours and commitment to try and track down people. The person we're alleging is responsible is actually not even a student. He's a long-haul truck driver that was just hanging out at the plaza because that's where people seem to congregate. So, you know, we are doing you know, as best a job in the incident response piece. The hours spent at that plaza are indicative of how much time we commit to it. We've had at least 5 what I call operational plans over the last several summers, and we continue to have one where it's proactive patrols trying to enforce the Trespass to Property Act. The next slide, though, is where we're really focusing on in its CPTED. You're probably all familiar with crime prevention through environmental design. It's a way that we're going to hopefully work with building management to employ some strategies that would want to deter people from wanting to come to the plaza. The next slide, some of the things that we have suggested are lighting, landscape changes, cameras, which they have put in, surveillance, signage, fences, walls, and then operational hours being posted. We recently sent our crime prevention team over to the plaza to see and follow up on what has been done. And the next slide indicates that there's a few areas of concern. They haven't implemented some of the things that we've suggested, such as landscape maintenance. But the one I want to highlight at the bottom, and that's the piece that I've spoken previously with members of city staff on, is, you know, that one area that I spoke of by the Rexall Pharmacy, there's no need for that to be accessible to the public beyond business hours. And is there a way for us to almost cause a bylaw to be in place or something to prevent them from allowing people to have access to that part of the plaza, which would then push those persons away? I know other large malls, Square One in Mississauga, they block off large sections of their parking lot in the evening, primarily to deter street racing and those types of nuisance offenses. But you know, that's something we've suggested, and I would like to proudly say that over the last few weekends they've done that. We've worked with them. They hired pay duties a few weekends, and they did put up some barriers to prevent people from going in those areas of the parking lot. I received today an email from a resident who constantly emails me, and it says, September 9th to 11th was our 3rd weekend in a row of reasonable noise levels from the College Plaza. Some loitering and noise continues outside of Tim Hortons, but it's very minor compared to what was happening prior to the recent Peel Police and security intervention. Once again, you know, A-frames were used by security to close the entrance. We're hoping this continues on an ongoing basis, and they pass on their thanks to the police and city staff. So we know this is an issue that if we get cooperation from all stakeholders, we can hopefully make some progress on. But I know it's caused a great deal of concern for the community, especially when they see things like the incident that happened a few weekends ago. But we continue to commit ourselves, and I know the chief and the deputies and everybody, we have their support, and I know we have council support to try and bring those responsible for these very vicious attacks to justice. And that concludes what I'd like to say, but I'm happy to answer questions to your worship or anyone on council.
Councillor Medeiros.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much, Sean, for coming today. I know we've been in contact. Hello?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. I know we've discussed this many times, and I know you've been in contact with Mayor Brown and also with Councillor Bowman, and we've held several town halls at Holland Christian Homes where Councillor Bowman and myself and the Peel Prevention, crime prevention team attended, and we know the source of issues we've had at College Park. One of the discussions that we've had was the possibility of a bylaw. And I know Mayor Brown and Councillor Bowman, we've had some discussions about it. I think it's time that we look at the city's sort of powers and see how we can sort of try to help in addressing this issue, notwithstanding I don't think that we'll be able to completely stop some of these occurrences. But do you think some form of a bylaw that would require, you had mentioned what they do in Mississauga, and the willingness of College Plaza recently to hire paid duties. But do you think if we put a bylaw that could extend to other plazas and require, for example, some form of, be it, restricted access to the parking lot and et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that would help and support your policing and the way that you deploy your resources?
I certainly feel that something to compel the business owners to do something to prevent people within the parking lot. As I said, we've given them a pretty good plan, and the last few weekends have demonstrated that blocking off sections of the parking lot does work. Whether it's a bylaw that says you shall do that, or whether there's some kind of cost recovery possible for calls for service. I know we do that with the fire department and various, it may then cause, it's cheaper for us to put gates up than keep paying every time the police get called. We do cost recovery for alarms. These are very preventable things that are going on. And if the city could work with, city staff could work with us to try and look for those types of solutions, I certainly feel there would be a benefit.
Yeah, thank you very much. And just to recognize your leadership, I know we've spent countless times discussing this, and I thank you very much for the support for the community. So Mayor Brown, I'm not sure who else is on the board, but I'm happy to move that city staff work with Peel Police and in terms of bringing a report back on a possible bylaw that could extend across other plazas. And I know yourself and Councillor Bowman, happy to have you seconded, and any other councillor if they think that this is warrants in their area. But I do know that College Plaza has been highly mediatic, and it's been someone that's been it's been a source of considerable attention. And I know Sherman College is also unfortunately the victim of some of the bad press that goes towards College Plaza. So I'm happy to move it, but I'm not sure who's else are speakers. I'm happy to move it and have yourselves second it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Medeiros. Very appropriate motion, and well that we have 3 councillors on the board. Peter can work on drafting something. If you want to send him language, that would be helpful too. We have Councillor Paleshi, Councillor Bowman, Councillor Santos. So Councillor Paleshi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I don't need to move or second. I can certainly support. As the only councillor sitting at this table or at the City of Brampton that was on from the beginning of the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan, throwing a law or throwing a rule at something wasn't the crux of what this plan was about. Supporting and helping kind of is the epitome of the Community Safety Plan. What I don't want to happen is I don't want any downstream effects to be caused, and I don't know what those could be, obviously, because this is the first time something like this has been brought forward to us. So I think we really need to take a look at if we're going to implement a bylaw on a private property, on private properties throughout the city, what does that mean, not only for this property, but for other properties in the city as well. So that's definitely something that we need to look at before we go ahead and do this. There was the slide that you had on, it was one of the first, I don't have it in my roll here, I don't think. The one, oh, there it is. Yes, that one. Why is it that the officer-initiated 676 calls relates to 863 hours, and the citizen from 374 relates to 935? Sure.
So typically, the citizen-initiated ones would be more where an incident has occurred, such as an assault or a threatening, or somebody's called in a noise complaint, so officers have to go there and potentially investigate a matter. When you see officer-initiated, those are proactive. Officers have gone by when they've seen large crowds, patrolled through to see, if any criminality is going on. We are agents under the Trespass to Property Act for that property, so we may enforce that. So generally, those instances take much less time to deal with. So that's why you'll see a discrepancy in terms of hours spent. So generally, when the citizens call, there's a report that has to be generated. There's statements to be taken, that type of thing.
The investigation work goes.
There's an investigation,
and that's kind of what I assumed when there's officers just driving by, seeing a crowd, but they actually they communicate with people, right? They talk.
They will go in and find out what's going on
for sure,
and proactively engage. The one thing this doesn't reflect, and I should have mentioned, is this is uniform patrol officer time. One thing we don't have the capability of doing currently, but we're in the process of changing, is there's investigative hours that also are put in. So that recent assault involving the sword, we've spent probably in excess of 80, 90 hours of investigator time looking for the person responsible, writing search warrants, those types of things. So, this is just officer time. This isn't investigator time that's captured. So, it is a very onerous thing on the police when we're dealing with something which some may say is as simple as a plaza, but it is a very onerous thing for us to deal with.
I've heard a lot in the community lately, and I'm actually surprised if the uncles were still here, they would be voicing their opinion, certainly, if they were here, because they have certainly been doing that for us, letting us know what we should be doing with those kids. Unfortunately, it is that Sheridan College proximity where anything that happens over there, automatically they get, I don't want to say it's a blame, but it's an automatic, those are international students and they go to Sheridan College, right?
There's certainly that perception, and it's something that we are working with Sheridan to try and, Sheridan's been a tremendous partner to us.
Yeah.
They've been a tremendous partner to the city. They are very proactive in trying to figure out ways in which we can solve this problem, but it's not their problem to solve alone. It's a collaborative that's going to have to be done.
Yeah, and I think those are discussions that we, the city of Brampton, Peel Regional Police, and Sheridan need to have to make sure that that's not the narrative. That people don't necessarily get blamed. We need proper communication, proper education out to the public.
Yes.
We don't want scare tactics, scaremongering, or blaming. So that's all the comments that I had. And thank you. Great work to all the PRP.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Bowman.
Thank you very much to you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Superintendent. We've had a number of meetings, as Councillor Medeiros had mentioned, and it was only a couple of months back, actually, that we came here with Holland Christian Homes, and I believe I asked for a report back to see if we could institute a quiet zone for the long-term care area there. That's what Holland Christian Homes was asking for. So that would be one sort of bylaw that could be put in place there that could be enforced. I believe about, 2 years ago, we met with Sheridan, the Plaza owners. I believe you were there too. And there was a number of students, Councillor Medeiros and myself. Did we not ask the Plaza owners to put in speed bumps in certain locations as well to prevent the cars from revving up and taking off?
So I was not part of that meeting. It might have been Superintendent Sean McKenna. He was my predecessor, but I don't believe speed bumps have been put in. I think some have been put in some of the main driving areas, but not through the main parking lot. So again, that's, the driving complaints aren't quite the main concern right now. The main concern is the loud noise, the music, and then of course now we've seen an increasing amount of kind of assaultive behavior. Noise is certainly the number one complaint we get from residents, the Holland Christian Homes and then those houses in behind.
Yeah, and a lot of the complaints from Holland Christian Homes is, the sound of squealing tires,
yes,
as well as the modified mufflers.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what can be done. I think either Peel Region or somebody was working modified muffler bylaw. But again, you've got to catch them with the modified muffler.
That's right.
In order to lay charges, so.
And the Highway Traffic Act does not apply on private property. It only applies on roadways, so it's a difficult thing to, deal with when they're in a parking lot.
Yeah.
To prevent them being in the parking lot in the first place would be preferable.
Yeah, yeah. So if there's things like that that we can look at, the quiet zone was certainly what Holland Christian Homes was asking for. So I don't know if that needs direction, if we can come back with that. I did ask for that a couple of months back. But you guys, Sheridan College, Councillor Medeiros and myself, as well as some of the residents and the Plaza owners, we have been trying to come up with a way. So I will say Sheridan College has been involved with that, despite the fact that a lot of this has nothing to do with students
Yes.
who go to Sheridan College. So I applaud that, and I applaud the effort that Peel Regional Police is doing too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. I would say, all the media reports where this was an international student issue, and so thank you for sharing with us, because you have an incidence that casts, a negative light on an entire group within our city. So thank you for highlighting that, and thank you to the Peel Police for the arrest. I know a lot of people were alarmed that.
Yes, it's fresh off the press,
Yeah.
and as I said, the accused hasn't even made it to court yet, but we have made an arrest, and I anticipate a warrant being put out tomorrow for a second party we believe was involved. And to highlight your point, Mr. Mayor, international students definitely get a bad rap in that mall, and we know that certainly there are students that do go to the mall to hang out, but some of the criminality is not them; it's others.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation today, and once again, for the Peel Police for the exceptional work, and thank you for the arrest. I'm sure that will relieve many in the area that were wondering when that arrest would come. So that's great news.
Thank you.
We have the motion. Do we have wording?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it is on the screen. Staff be directed to work with Peel Regional Police on investigation of potential additional means of deterrence, including bylaws with regard thereto.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Medeiros, and seconded by Councillor Paleshi. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
And this will include receipt of the delegation.
This takes us to our next item, and I can speak to it. It would have been great to have Adrian here. And if there's a motion, I think we had one, didn't we?
Mr. Mayor will bring it up on the screen.
Yeah.
5.2.
So Adrian Woolley is the president of the Peel Police Association, and they've had a lot of feedback. We've had a lot of feedback on auto thefts, and I know they're hoping for our support for additional resources. There was another one of the altercations today. Was a carjacking. We've had some brazen examples in Peel Region. Sadly, it's become a revenue tool for organized crime, and the police do the best they can. The incident of the Land Rover that was stolen out of a garage, they got an arrest on that recently, but this has become a litany of examples of auto thefts. And right now, the Peel Police have 5 officers for all of Peel Region assigned to auto thefts investigations, and obviously they need more resources. The response is they can't respond, and so a motion in the City of Brampton's support for additional resources to respond to auto thefts. The number that Adrian Woolley shared with me was 15. They have 5 now. He's hoping that they'll have 15 to attend to the volume of calls, and just if we could support that request and have it sent to the Region of Peel and to the Peel Police. I know Councillor Vasante wanted to second that as well. I know there's been a number, really there's been auto thefts in everyone's ward. I'm inundated with complaints about it. I know Councillor Vasante has heard the same. Councillor Vasante?
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you for moving the motion. I know that this has been a persistent problem in many parts of the city, but particularly in wards 1 and 5, which I represent with Councillor Santos. We have a lot of residents who really have had a huge issue. It's like every other house, it seems. You know, they're losing their vehicles to auto theft. And we, working with police, also identified challenges with the manufacturing and the design of the vehicles, which makes it very easy for them to be stolen. And we'd like to see that change, and to that effect, we've had meetings with some of the manufacturers. And we're hoping that we can collaborate with them, but also recognizing that Peel Regional Police have been also asked by the Police Services Board to work with our federal and provincial partners, because these vehicles similarly are, they're easily taken out of the country. And so that's another factor. So we would like to see more resources put behind this, so that folks and their vehicles are not victimized over and over again. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If this can, just as part of an amendment, that it also be referred to the Police Services Board, because I do want to recognize Chair Ron Chada's leadership on this file, and I seconded a motion that he moved regarding auto theft. So if this can just be brought to the attention of the board as well.
A great amendment, Councillor Medeiros. I would take that as a friendly, and I spoke to Chair Chatha earlier today about this as well, so thank you for referencing that. And if we could send notice of our motion to the Peel Regional Police Association as well. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? The motion carries. So this takes us to our next item. This is item 4.4, delegation from Asma Vesna, President and Vice Chancellor, Algoma University. And this is for item 511, discussion item at the request of Mayor Brown, a progress update on the future expansion of Algoma University in Brampton. Council, we can bring forward and deal with the discussion item after the delegation. And I believe there'll be a request for additional time.
Yes.
Instead of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, is that my understanding?
If we can have 15, that would be
15
great.
minutes. Council? I see nods. 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. And good afternoon, councillors. I want to start by, first of all, sharing my appreciation for the opportunity to share a brief update on the continued success we are experiencing as a university, thanks to the partnerships and the collaboration underway in the city's downtown. I want to take this opportunity also to introduce you to a couple of new players on our team. Arjun Batra is here with us today. He is one of our newest board members, and he is the first member of our Board of Governors from the Brampton area. So we want to welcome him. We've also had Shannon Brooks join recently. She's been at Algoma University a few months. She's now in the finance and operations position as one of our VPs. And I think most of you know Craig Fowler, who tends to tour councillors through our facilities when they want to see some of the growth that's been happening there. So today, if we can go to the next slide, we are celebrating, and I wanted to get a couple of pictures up here for you so you could see what our first week was like. We are celebrating 3,000 students in Brampton's downtown, and it's been absolutely an amazing, amazing experience. I've actually felt so much emotion this last week. I'm excited to share with you. So if you remember my last presentation to council, it was in July 2019, and we talked about our promise to you of reaching 1,000 students with your investment of about $8 million. And here we are today. The background of this slide was just taken last week during orientation, where we packed the Rose Theatre, standing room only. The energy and excitement in that room was amazing. That day we had 300 extra students come to orientation who of course had not signed up. So the local restaurants came to the rescue. One of the restaurants shared with Craig that this was one of the largest transactions in their history that they'd ever accepted. They couldn't actually process our visa which required about $4,000 in pizza. So we did 8 $500 increments on their machine, and I think they were absolutely shocked. This is what 3,000 students does to the downtown. Next week, the theater will host Flow Fest, an international drum fest, on Saturday, September 17th. All 3 of our campuses are coming to Brampton. We will have, I'm told, close to 500 students filling, again, the Globe, or the theater. The students will be attending a Blue Jays game following that, and will be utilizing the hotels in the Brampton area. I also learned today that we purchased 400 YMCA student memberships as part of our commitment to health and wellness. These are just some of the highlights. This is an exciting time, both for us, for the downtown, and for the students. Next slide, please. Oh, I want to just point out one slide here as well. In the middle section, we had a special guest that came up to Brampton from Sault Ste. Marie. And what you don't probably know is this gentleman is a spiritual and cultural advisor to the university, and he was doing a Thunderbird teaching. And he is the great-great-great-great-grandson of one of the chiefs of Batchewana First Nation, hereditary chief. He is also one that followed Chief Shingwak, and they are the ones that brought the warriors up the water system to fight in the War of 1812. His grandfather actually passed away in this area. So for him to come back and do the teaching about the Thunderbird to our students was a pretty special moment for us this week. When we see Chinguacousy Park, Chinguacousy Township, Chinguacousy Ski Hill, that's Chief Shingwak. That's his grandfather who gave Chief Shingwak the land when his people were displaced because the war was being fought in that part of the province. So lots of special connections we share north and south. The fact that our students are coming here to Brampton from Sault Ste. Marie and Timmins next week is also a pretty special moment for us. So we'll go to the next slide. And again, I just want to reemphasize, this is about partnership. We know this. It's about collaboration. And that really is what's brought this vision to life. It aligns with the vision of the Brampton community. Our growth has been transformational on so many levels, and we want you to know that through continued collaboration and other strategic partnership, such as the work we continue to do with our post-secondary partners, Toronto Metropolitan University, Sheridan College, we can serve as the catalyst to further accelerate the development of the innovation corridor that has been part of Brampton's long-term vision for some time, most specifically Brampton 2040. I'm just going to take a drink of water. For Algoma, these next 3 years will be marked by rapid enrollment growth to 5,000 students. We're developing a new strategic plan that will guide the university starting in 2023. We have revitalized our brand and our marketing. We're focusing on further development of campus facility and further development of our programming. We are expanding and we need space. This is a period which will be marked by the introduction on our Brampton campus of master's and PhD programs. We will be bringing a new focus on research and innovation. We minimally need 150,000 square feet in the next 2 years. We need to build, we need to renovate. Through the presentation, we want to create a compelling argument to the council to be considered if the city determines they will go ahead with the CFI building. Algoma would like the opportunity to be considered as a main tenant. Next slide. It's this one. Yeah, just come down one and a little bit more. That's it. Since 2018, Algoma University has grown by over 215%, making it one of the fastest growing universities in Canada. Along with our partners, the City of Brampton, Algoma University has invested close to $40 million in just 3 years. Algoma is currently planning to continue this investment at an average of $15 million a year for the next 3 years. That deals with growth to 3,000. We will require further investment as we grow to 5,000 students and beyond. But as I mentioned before, we are in desperate need of more space. Enrollment in Brampton has grown from 270 to close to 3,000, an increase of over 1,000%. Algoma Brampton degree student enrollment has grown by 625%. Domestic student enrollment has grown by 400%. Over the past 3 years, we've had to add additional programs and specializations, with the plan to double these over the next couple of years. There has been a 318% increase in staffing since 2019. If we look to the economic impact on the next slide, we showed you this economic impact slide in 2019. We, at that point, were suggesting that by 2028, your original investment of $8 million would help generate a return of 29.5 to every dollar invested. We believe we are hitting that number today. We're about to embark on a new economic impact study that will demonstrate to the community what the impact of the university will be in the downtown as we grow to 5,000. Next slide, please. We have and continue to look at investments in housing, student life, academic support, and health and wellness. We know that the transition to university can be difficult and that many students face a range of challenge, but we're here so that they are never alone. We pride ourselves in the range of support services in play to ensure their success both inside and outside of the classroom. Housing has become an area of increased interest in the Peel region, as we need to ensure that those that are studying at Algoma have access to quality, affordable housing. We have a well-established homestay program and are actively working with local developers on new student housing developments as recently presented to Council. Today we are working and talking with local developers. We have already proposed one solution and are actively working with other developers to provide more options for housing. Once a part of the Algoma U family, our students can take advantage of a variety of academic support services to ensure academic success. We offer everything from the formal academic advising through to accessibility services. We have invested significantly in new staff and programs to support our students' needs. We have regulated international student immigration advisors. We have increased accessing to counseling supports for students 24/7 through Homewood Health Partnership, Talk Campus, I Am Well, and Direct to You doctors. And I guess one of the things that I wanted to speak to here is this need for space and this focus on growth. This idea of a housing complex in the downtown, I think, is something that's really important. We would like to be seriously considering residence for university students in Brampton's downtown, anywhere between 250 to 500 beds. We want to do that in an affordable and culturally appropriate way, and we have some good ideas, and we have some good partners. Go to the next slide. The next slide that we really want to speak to, the next couple of slides, is really around the comprehensive suite of university programming that we're now offering at Algoma. So if I can go to the next slide. Most of you know, but currently in the downtown, we have the School of Business and Economics. In the bachelor, in the BBA program, we have HR, accounting, and marketing specializations. In Brampton specifically, we've also introduced aviation and airline management, as well as the business of esports, and some of you remember the Amuka launches that we had. We're also bringing in a master's in business administration, and it's currently underway. The School of Computer Science and Technology is currently our fastest growing program. There's significant interest both domestically and internationally. As you know, we have a focus on gaming technology and the creative arts, programming, and mobile software engineering. We also have a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. The two interesting pieces that are underway right now is a Master's in Computer Science and Technology, which is 1 year and it's course-based, and it'll be in Brampton in the fall of 2023. And then we have a Master's of Science in Computer Science, which will be a 2-year thesis-based courses. And that course will really be working closely with industry and research and innovation. The third one that most of you are familiar with was the Center for Social, Cultural, and Economic Innovation, and we're beginning to bring those programs here. One thing that we're really interested in is the mental health and addictions challenges in the community, as well as environmental challenges that community will face, and working closely with community partners to solve some of those problems. The most recent, and some of you may not be aware of that, is the introduction of continuing education, and that is really based on your focus on the innovation corridor and the need to ensure that our businesses have the upskilling and reskilling, particularly in the technology sector, as they move forward. So you have seen a launch of Unity Technologies National Center of Excellence at Algoma University. We are now their national training partner. We are basically offering a certification process by Unity and our computer science certifications. And again, just to remind you, the Unity technology is right now the world's leading platform for creating and operating interactive real-time 3D content. They are everywhere. They're in the automobile industry, they're in the architecture, automobile, gaming, you name it, they're there. And then, of course, we've been talking about mental health and addictions. We have 4 programs that we're offering now to support some of the challenges in our communities and upskilling and reskilling health practitioners, as well as getting focused on supply chain and logistics and supply chain management. And we also now have available to the community Indigenous cultural training called Gabay Gadendowin. What we'd like to do, and this is where we really need to be focusing if we are looking at increasing space, we'd like to move forward with the Mental Health and Addictions Research and Training Institute, and we'd like to bring our science programming to Brampton with some specific focus for Brampton and the community. And so you can see the programs that we're thinking of bringing there, and very much connected with Toronto Metropolitan and Sheridan and their focus on health science and medical. I'll go to the next slide. So when we found out that council had given I guess I'm not sure order is probably a strong word, but asked the CAO to inquire whether there were other post-secondary institutions interested in main tenancy in the CFI, we immediately called the CAO and said, we'd like to have a serious conversation. We're actually desperate for space. We need the space immediately. And we're out looking to see what space is available. Not only did we talk about the innovation corridor, but we actually asked the CAO, do you have any other space that Algoma could be looking at? And so we're hoping to have those conversations in the very near future. These are some of the programs that we think could fit nicely into the innovation center. However, we're quite interested in talking further with the city. The next slide, please. Just about done. So this is really what it's all about. This year we celebrated 3 graduation ceremonies and the academic accomplishments of our graduation classes. These are our leaders of tomorrow who will help fuel Brampton's innovation corridor and other sectors of the economy. Although not always easy, through hard work and collaboration, it has been a wonderful experience to see the transformation in the downtown. I know that through continued and purposeful partnership and ongoing collaborative training, we will be the catalyst with TMU and Sheridan that will drive Brampton's innovation corridor forward. We're already doing it. We trust the overview has reinforced our vision to work with the city in order to expedite the development of the innovation corridor. In order to move forward and bring this vision to reality, we are seeking to secure support from council to work with city staff to develop a formal request as an anchor tenant for the CFI. We'd like to bring a full business case presentation and proposal to the council later this fall, and we would like to work with staff to be able to develop a formal proposal that we could bring forward. Thank you very much. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Vicente, followed by Councillor Willens and Pleshy. Councillor Vicente.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Asma, for bringing this wonderful presentation. Algoma has been an incredible success story here in the city of Brampton. Councillor Santos and I, having watched your work and what you're doing, it's truly impressive, and we want to continue to find ways to work with you. And so, as the local area councillors where Algoma is situated, in wards 1 and 5, myself and Councillor Santos would be more than pleased to ask staff to come back with a report dealing with this request, which would also include an update on the negotiations for space and requests for space in the Center for Innovation, and with others, and also considering this request with, and just asking through you, Mayor, how much time would it take for us to get that kind of information back from you?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we could probably do that in 30 to 45 days.
Okay, so we're definitely looking for, not this term, obviously.
Thank you.
Okay. We're very anxious to get this going, but we do want to see, as part of this report, an update on negotiations for space with the Center for Innovation, including other expressions of interest. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, we have Councillor Willens next.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you, President, for coming in. It's always nice to see you. It's nice. I know it wasn't long ago, last term of council, I know there was mentioned there wasn't a university in our downtown, and I was pretty strong saying that we did have a university in our downtown. And it's nice that you saw that you brought one of our partners that's been in the downtown for a long time, Mr. Kutuzola, and I'd like to recognize him here as well, because I know him and Bill have worked very closely with you to make sure you have space, to make sure you have the space for the 3,000 kids that are here now. So it's very important that you do, to me, it's very important that you do work with our local partners, and you've always done that. So I personally appreciate you being in the downtown. You've really sparked a lot into our downtown core, and you've done what you said. You've actually exceeded what you said you were going to do. I think it was 7 to 1 or 12 to 1, I think, return on the investment. And now you're saying you're at 29 to 1. So that's incredible what you've done on a small investment by the city of Brampton. So thank you again for coming down, and I'll keep sending you pictures of those fish.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. And I also want to acknowledge the Russo brothers who are here as well today, who also are very invested in the housing crisis that we're dealing with as well. So, good partner.
Okay, Councillor Palashi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it seems to be like great problems to have. And I think we have some really good partners, and Mr. Kutuzola and Mr. Russo, that are owners in the downtown, and one happens to be a really good builder. So I think that's fantastic. I think I'm a little bit confused with what Councillor Vincente was asking staff to do, because I thought I heard that you were going to come back with a business case, and then maybe at that time we can ask staff, because you're bringing us information, right? So if you're going to come back with a business case, I think that would be better suited at that time to ask staff to work with that business case and then come back for next term of council.
Now clarifying.
So if I can ask that question directly to Councillor Vincente.
To Councillor Vincente.
Thank you. And just to clarify, so when we have that business case come forward and additional information, specifically asking for council to receive an update on the negotiations that we have had with all of the potential partners for the Center for Innovation, come at that same time for council's consideration. And I can make sure, Mr. Clerk, if you can have the motion reflect that we're asking for an update on negotiations from other parties that are interested in space within the Center for Innovation.
So thank you, Councillor Vincente.
Hope that helps.
Sure. Maybe it'd be better than because you said you were going to come back to council with the business case. Maybe we bypass council, go straight to staff with your business case, and then because then it's going to have to come back to council anyways. So maybe that's probably the better fit. You're more than welcome to always come to council and tell us all your great news stories. I'm just trying to. If that's red tape, I'm trying to cut it. So
yeah, through his worship to Councillor Palashi, I think that would make good sense for us. We are under a time crunch. We are out of space. So we really are looking across the community right now to see if there is space that can help us with the growth that we're experiencing. Our preference is to be in the downtown. Our students really love the downtown. The business owners are they're just amazing to work with. We love being by the Rose Theatre, the YMCA. There are lots of restaurants that can help serve the needs of the university. So the issue for us will be, come this winter, we will have finished 28 Queen. which will give us a little bit more space. We're looking at a couple of other areas, including 56 Queen, thank you. Not Queen, 56 Queen. And so that'll get us probably through the winter, but barring that, we need to get some commitments for, especially by summer and into the early fall.
Okay, so I think it's so much better than don't come back to council. Staff have the direction now. You go right to them with the business case, and then they'll be able to come back. And then maybe in the future, you can look at Ward 2 and 6.
And Mr. Mayor, just for further clarification, if I still have the floor, and through you to the city clerk, that we add this addition for clarity that and an updates be given to council on negotiations with other post-secondary institutions that are looking to partner with us, including Algoma, within the Center for Innovation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Sante, you're on the board.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the motion to be worded. Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
For the Center for Innovation. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
And I would
Thank
just
you, Mayor.
say, Asma, before we go to the vote, just, obviously we want to accommodate all the great initiatives happening in the city, but this is exciting, and certainly some of the new programs you've offered, the aviation one in particular, seeing pilots getting trained and masters walking around downtown Brampton, the computer science initiative is just really exciting. And so it's something that I think we can be proud of as a city, and we'll get back to you on how we can accommodate all these great things that are happening in Brampton.
Yeah, and just in closing, I really need to acknowledge the council and Mayor Brown. If it wasn't for that initial $8 million, almost $8 million investment, we wouldn't be here today. This success in the downtown wouldn't be here. So we have a really strong allegiance to the city. You know, we can see what's happening because of that investment. I think we all can feel it, and it's very much, it's been very appreciated. So thank you very much.
And thank you, John Cotrazola, for showing Asma and Algoma a great spot. Councillor Paleshi, last word.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, really quickly, because I forgot that I saw environmental studies on there. Brampton's Environmental Education Center that we're looking at opening and starting construction it is in the West End. So, but look forward to talking to you about that too. We need some partnerships there.
Excellent.
For the education of our youth, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? None. Motion carries. This takes us to our next item, which is Brampton Minor Ball Hockey. This is a request about the $5,632 that a third party left with the Brampton Minor Ball Hockey League. They say it's affecting their operations to be able to restart this year, and I'm told Nelson Lajunas may be able to speak to it, but have we located him, Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in place of Nelson, Mauro Cugini is present remotely to delegate to council on this matter.
Okay, so Mauro, could you explain the issue? And then if there's a willingness for a motion, we'd have to have a reconsideration.
Sure. First off, good afternoon to Mayor and Council, and thank you for your time. Essentially, this is not a normal occurrence. What transpired a few years back, pre-pandemic, is a for-profit adult program in the GTA, basically served Brampton Minor with an injunction to cease from operating and not grow the sport for youth. Our program has been going, next year will be the 20th year. We offer programs from age 4 all the way up to 18 as minors, and then we opened up a juvenile division 1 year prior to the pandemic. But what this injunction did, essentially, we were advised we had to fight it. Otherwise, they could put us and the program out of business, which essentially they have done with this outstanding matter. We had to cover legal costs to pay an attorney to basically fight for us against this injunction. And when I say us, I mean the Brampton Minor Ball Hockey League. Nelson became president in 2014 and is still president to this day. So essentially, we had to spend monies that were in our coffers to battle this group. We won the court injunction. However, if any of you are aware of legal battles in small claims courts, it's near impossible to get the $25,000 we were awarded for the time and inconvenience that this group put us through. So not only did we lose out thousands of dollars in fighting the defense of this injunction, we can't even claim the winnings, of which would cover, more than cover, the outstanding matter of $5,600 plus dollars. So we're coming to the council to hopefully waive this outstanding matter due to the extraordinary situation that we found ourselves in, and just basically fought for the program. And we haven't operated since the pandemic. We are intending to come back in 2023 and also include a girls only division, which we're prepared to launch in November of this year. So that's essentially what has transpired with this group. And we're not able to pay the $5,600 at this time.
Thank you, Mauro. I know this is a small amount, $5,632. It's alarming that it affects the operations of kids ball hockey that you put in this point. Is there a willingness around the council table just to waive the $5,632 so they can get back to operations? I see Councillor Basante and Willens nodding.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, there was a previous delegation, and council turned their mind to this back in June with a report that came from staff, and the council resolution at that time was to allow staff to work with them to defer payment until the end of the year. If council wishes to waive the fees, then my advice would be that's a reconsideration, which is a 2/3 vote. We would have to have a 2/3 vote to waive the procedure bylaw because there is no notice of motion, and then another 2/3 vote to reopen council's decision before council wishes to make another decision.
Councillor Sunday's move for 2/3? 2/3? Okay, motion carries. And then it would be a motion to waive the $5,632. All in favor? Carries, unanimous. Thank you, Mauro.
Good afternoon, thank you.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we need a seconder for the motion.
I'm Councillor Bowman.
So the first motion was waiving the procedure bylaw, which is a 2/3 vote, and at the same time there was a motion taken again by a 2/3 vote to reopen council's previous decision. And following that, then there was a motion, presumably from Councillor Bisante and Councillor Bowman again, to waive the fees. That carried. So just bear with us a moment as we just document this for the record.
That's been properly noted. The next item.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the next item in agenda order would be 5.3, discussion at the request of Mayor Brown regarding
yes.
executing the Ahmedabad Friendship Agreement. There was a supplementary report that was distributed with the revised agenda.
And I believe Councillor Dillon, if he's still on the call, wanted to second this, or you can move it if you want. I'm happy to move it. So there's a lot of history with Ahmedabad. We have a large Gujarati community in the city of Brampton, and the mayor of Ahmedabad sent this to us 2 years ago, and they've asked for a response. They're keen on Brampton, partly because of the large community here, but believe it or not, the mayor of Ahmedabad, daughter was going to school here and attended a number of the garbas that we had in Brampton. So there's this neat synergy. Vijay Pandya, who many of you know, from Brampton, is the one asking for the update, and so I added this, and I'm happy to move that we...
Muting.
Sorry?
So sorry, my mic I wasn't able to unmute my mic. I was listening, but I wasn't able to unmute.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, the report from staff provides 3 options in the body of the report. So, and staff are recommending option 1, but it's subject to council consideration.
So I'm happy to move option 1. Economic development staff engage with Ahmedabad to identify areas of mutual interest. The economic benefit, pursue projects, initiatives without a formal agreement. It doesn't necessarily need a formal agreement. They've written a letter asking to be a sister city, and so I think we accept their offer, and doesn't require a formal agreement. We accept their offer, and we just look at areas that we could mutually work on. So I take out the words without a formal agreement, because they have not asked for a formal agreement. I think what they identified was, that there could be a section in their libraries about Brampton, and we could have a section, one of our libraries about Ahmedabad, or, other opportunities that speak to the friendship that could be looked in. So I think that to identify areas of mutual interest with economic benefit, you can say economic and social benefit. It's not limited to economic. And add in the library. So this could include an exchange with Innovation District, Startup Exchanges, by idea of the Brampton Library, and investment attractions. Add in the word Brampton Library. Councillor Singh.
If it's anything in regards to the library, can we defer to the library board for conversations with members of the Gujarati community on the library board as well? And they have their own sort of requirements, so that's all I would ask, that any discussion about the library board, libraries gets referred to the library board.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Singh, would you like to say through the Brampton Library Board, or in consultation with?
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as it comes back so we can see, but yeah, with consultation with the library board.
Any other speakers? Okay, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
5.4 was dealt with. 5.5 is the discussion item at the request of Mayor Brown regarding creating a Terry Fox Memorial.
Okay, so there's a number of cities that have Terry Fox monuments, and I think I shared some with our communications team, but there is a well-respected senior in our city, Mohan Singh Bengu, who organizes a Terry Fox run each year at Bonnie Braes Park. And this is a request from his Terry Fox organizing committee. And the request is that whereas City of Brampton recognizes and honors Terry Fox as a Canadian athlete, humanitarian, and cancer research activist, whereas City of Brampton has recognized the contribution of Terry Fox through its existing Terry Fox Stadium, walking track, and community events, flag raising program, therefore be resolved that staff explore and implement additional and appropriate ways in which Terry Fox can be more memorialized in the city. Should we say with, the request was for a monument, so with a monument? And I know Councillor Medeiros has been involved in this as well. So I believe Councillor Medeiros is the seconder. And do we have Mohan Singh Bangu coming in? No, is he still here? No, he left? Okay. Councillor Willens.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I was going to actually go on the board actually just because I wanted to refer the Terry Fox Stadium, but you did refer to that, so I'm okay. Thanks.
Okay, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this takes us to the next one, Lily Roberts Park. And I want to thank Councillors Dillon and Singh for flagging this issue. I met with a group that was advocating for this as well. And we have a motion. The staff add splash pads to Lily Roberts Park and that a staff report on this be referred to Budget Committee November 30th, or just whenever Budget Committee is, if the dates are wrong.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wish to advise council that we're in the restricted acts period, so directing staff to add splash pads, I presume would have a cost impact of greater than $50,000 outside an approved budget. So if the motion was to have staff report back on the cost to implement splash pads, but to actually make the decision to add splash pads is beyond council's decision at this point.
So refer back?
Yes.
Okay. Now, one thing I could ask is Commissioner Marlin here. I know in some of these motions we're going to be dealing with, he said there was existing budget, so the word that should be used is expedite. So, Anand, could you let us know what we should use, report back or expedite? And one comment that might expedite this, the issues that have been raised by different councillors, is that Commissioner Marlin said we lump them all together, and that he could look at what would require reporting back to Budget Committee next year, and what one there's existing budgets for right now. Maybe Anand or Marlon could speak to that.
To the mayor, this is Marlon on the call. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the request falls into three categories. It's either an existing project that's already been approved and council is looking for an update, or it's a new request that falls under $50,000, or it's over $50,000. So if we take a look at it, we can report back on expediting approved projects already. We can move ahead with the request under $50,000, which basically meets the restricted act, and anything over $50,000, we can provide a report for consideration during our budget discussion.
Okay, so I see that Councillor Singh and Bowman are on this, and I'll have you speak to it, and then we'll look at a way that we can expedite these motions faster. So, oh. Okay, do you still want to speak to it? Okay, Councillor Bowman?
Thank you very much through you, Mr. Mayor. Is this, Anand, is this a, or I don't know who's, Anand, you're going to answer? Oh, okay. Ed, is this a project that was already on the books, or is this a new, when Marlon speaks about expedited projects?
Through the mayor, this would be a new project currently, if it's a splash pad specifically.
Okay, so I don't mind adding splash pads. However, Councillor Medeiros and I have been asking for splash pads at County Court Park for 3.5 years now. So I'm just wondering, how we get to put a motion forward to move one ahead of any others, or are we going to create a list of where we would like splash pads?
So if I could be helpful, and the clerk allows me to do this. This Lily Roberts Park splash pad came up thanks to Councillor Dillon raising it. And I think it'd be a friendly to say that the staff report back to budget on the splash pads requested by the community at Lily Roberts Park and County Court.
County Court.
Can I accept that as a friendly?
You add county court to the budget before the last.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, either county court or other locations identified by members of council, so it's more generic, but it all will be subject to budget consideration in 2023. So no approval is being authorized today.
Okay.
Very quick question, Mr. Mayor. It's Councillor Dillon.
Sorry,
Just wondering if
Councillor Dillon, sorry, there is a speakers list, so after Councillor Bowman, I have Councillor Medeiros, then Councillor Fortini. Do you wish to be on the list?
So
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Medeiros.
Sorry, that's from the previous item. I'm fine, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Fortini.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I was going to say the same thing as Councillor Bowman. I remember from last term, we were asking from some splash pads. Not every park at least have a distance between one and another because it is high maintenance and you need a pumping station, filter system, chlorine. And I've been asking for the one on Torbram and Bevard. So maybe through the budget, we could go through, maybe put the odd one here and there on all wards. And I know in my area, I only have Chinguacousy Park. If you go on the Ward 8, there's nothing. So maybe we could look at that during the budget, and I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see no other speakers. Oh, Councillor Dillon, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. There's been a request from Treeline Park as well because they already have an existing water line there. So I just wanted to add the Treeline Park in there as an amendment as well.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Hearing nothing, motion carries. This takes us to another issue identified by Councillor Dillon, Mount Royal Circle and Maisonneuve Boulevard speed cameras. Councillor Dillon, do you want to speak to this one?
Yes, and so I think Councillor Singh and yourself have been approached by members of the area in regards to this, and so what they want to do is get an expedited process to get the speed cameras in there. There's been quite an active community, and they've identified a number of key issues, and this is one of them. And so we're looking forward to getting some type of movement on some speed cameras in here, and allow perhaps yourself and Councillor Singh to add more to this.
Yes. And we can use the right terminology, automated speed enforcement devices. Councillor Palashi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you're talking about adding a ASE camera to this location? Is that what I'm hearing? This is currently, from my understanding, you have 10 in your wards now. Take one from one spot and put it here. That's what we do in our 2 wards. Each 2 wards have 10 cameras, as reported many times from staff. Work with staff, deem it to be a community safety zone, and then take your camera from one place and put it to the next. What we're finding is when we're cycling these cameras through, and then we double check on the speeds aren't catching up. People still seem to think that the camera's there, but it's been gone for 6 months. So it's great when it comes back, and then they never even thought it left. It's fantastic. Just keep moving around, cycling them. I think at some point we're going to need to purchase more at the city, but that's definitely a future budget discussion to have. But as of right now, 10 per 2 wards, I think is working.
And Councillor Paleski, we had originally passed a motion, I recall, saying that it was be for every community safety zone in the city. I know we've got 50, but that clearly doesn't cover every community safety zone because we have a number of community safety zones I've heard across the city. So maybe with this motion could also include that we get a report at budget on how we can expand this deployment across the city.
Yeah, sure. If that's what we want to talk about at budget next year, if we're lucky to be reelected, then I think that's a good opportunity to add more per area. But no other member of council in a different ward is going to have more cameras than I have. We will all have the same.
And I would note, this is not a cost on the city, but they've been running revenue neutral, and maybe one day it will even be a revenue tool for the city to help with speeding and reckless driving. To our CEO.
So to you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely. We'll look at it. We'll look at increasing it, but I know I've talked to Diana Seuss at length about this, and it's a capacity issue, and we're looking how we can resolve that capacity issue on, go ahead, Diana.
To the chair. In fact, what we're planning to do is hopefully eliminate the capacity issue by introducing ASC to AMPS in the new term, and thereby taking ASC out of POA courts. And once we have it in AMPS, we will have control over capacity issues, and there should no longer be that limitation.
Okay.
Perhaps I can just add, we're hopefully, and we'll try to bring a report back by budget, but hopefully we'll have that dealt with, or at least know the timelines for that by the time budget comes around next year.
Councillor Santos?
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Paleski just flagged something to our attention, wards 1 and 5. So, oh wow, all right, Gloria Stefan. We are noticing in our wards that there are a lot of signs that say speed camera coming soon. And a lot of residents are wondering and asking, I guess this is a question to the Commissioner of Legislative Services, when those, when they're actually going to be installed, because some of them are saying they've been waiting for a year and a half, and I don't know whether or not that's 100% true or not. But is it true that we have an equal number of speed cameras in each ward pairing, or are there some areas that have more than others?
Through the chair, that's absolutely correct. We've got 50 cameras in total, and we circulate them to Councillor Paleski's point. With respect to each ward, we try to have the same fairness, if you will, across the board. In regards to Maisonneuve and Mount Royal, we are putting in a camera at that location, but we're doing so by repurposing the one at, I believe, Fern Forest. So it's in the same ward, but we're moving that camera to facilitate the one at Mount Royal.
And when they're, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And when they're vandalized, do you get them fixed? Because quite often we see them vandalized.
And so we have a vendor, and that's part of the contract, so they'll fix it.
Great. My other question is when we get an updated report back, and I guess in that updated report, eventually it'll also include what the allocation is per ward pairing, ideally. But I'd love to see, based on what Councillor Paleshi has pointed out, what that change of behavior is. So if there is a change in behavior and that camera is removed and we're finding that cars are still going slower, then there might be an opportunity to actually reduce the amount of time that speed camera is there in order to rotate it in other places. So like that might be a more efficient way of doing things, but is there a traffic study that is actually done when the speed camera is removed to see whether or not there has been a change in behavior?
Through the chair, that's exactly what we do.
Great.
So we review how effective the camera is, and then we also follow up with respect to, having to.
And I remember
recirculate it
those
back.
reports. I remember those reports now. That's awesome. Okay, I look forward to seeing that. Thanks.
Councillor Fortini.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. These cameras, is there any way we could actually bolt them on the ground on a big pad and just take the bolts? If you drive on Central Parkway this morning at 5 o'clock and then Goldcrest, they're both on the ground again. Like, we have these cameras, they keep breaking them or spray paint. Or can we put them up high in a pole? Because we have them down every time I drive on Central Parkway. Or Goldcrest, every 2 weeks these things are vandalized, they're on the ground. So, and the one on Central Parkway, to our commissioner, that's been there since last year. It hasn't been moved, but it keeps knocking down. So I don't know if we have to do these big pads and bolt them and rotate them around, leave the pad there in case we have to bring it back so they cannot tilt them, or just put them up because it's very easy to tilt them, but it's impossible to lift them up. So maybe we should look into that. When we move them around, let's do a pad and bolt them down. Or we got to put them up because I see the one also in Avondale. It's all spray painted black. So maybe we could see how we could put them up like the street camera or the red lights up high, so it's easier to take down and it's hard to vandalize it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fortini. Motion moved by Councillor Dillon, seconded by Councillor Singh. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. This takes us to our next item, which is request for staff report for funding in 2023 for adding fencing to Michael Murphy Park to protect children's safety. There was an incident here about a child who was hit by a car, and if we could just have this report back for what the cost would be for the next budget. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Singh and Dillon. Okay, anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. On the same note, the Seniors Club at Michael Murphy Park has asked if we could look in what the cost would be for open-air gym equipment. They've brought photos and slides. I believe they presented this to the ward councillors and myself. And this, right? And so a motion would be that this be reported back to budget on the cost of open-air gym equipment. And the request comes from the Michael Murphy Park, but we could maybe get information on other parks that could be identified. I think we have the idea of what it costs for one park, and then we'll know it could be added at budget for other parks if it's the wish of the councillors. But we could get, and I can share with rec staff the photos that I've been given from where it's used elsewhere. Councillor Bowman, followed by Councillor Paleshi.
Thank you very much to you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'll just say that Councillor Medeiros and I have been looking at outdoor gym equipment since last term for Peel Village Park. So if we're going to add parks to this, that's great. If we're not, if we can just say the cost, the potential cost of putting in a outdoor gym installation, and then determine what parks and budget that we want to do that in, without naming any particular park.
I think you could say, cost to open air gym can be added to Michael Murphy Park, Pill Village Park, and other parks identified by councillors.
I'm okay, because I know Councillor Paleshi wants to add one as well, I think. Yeah.
Councillor.
I kind of liked where Councillor Bowman was going. I think we need to have a better understanding of what the equipment costs, and then at budget time, like the community benefits that we did last budget, I believe, that's something that we can look at in terms of physical activity to getting these into some of the parks that councillors pick, but knowing that, you know, what the cost is and what like at one point we had the email about all different types of playground structures that we could put in, and then we understood what the cost of each were, and we only have a limited amount of money for each. So I think that's the better way to go. That's where
Like if there was a budget for each ward for open air gym.
Yeah. Keeping in mind that I represent more than all of you.
Councillor Willens.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. That's exactly what I was going to say with Councilor Paleshi. Put it in each councilor's budget, because I think the equipment, I'm not mistaken, Ed's still here, but I think the one up at Loafers was about 100,000, wasn't it? Roughly, give or take.
Through the mayor, that's correct. Loafers Lake, we do have a couple citywide, more of a couple, about 4 or 5, and that was our thought as well, as looking broad. But yeah, we'll take council's direction, but correct. It's depending on how many components you want. Usually we'll have one area with 2 adult fitness. We call it adult fitness. Anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. Excavation, play, warranty, and such.
Each one, right?
But that's for each. We call them pods. But depending on how big the location is, yeah. So each park would vary.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
So I think the councillor asking for a bit of a rewording on this. We'll take out the park names and just say potential cost of open air gym equipment installation in parks across the city. All those in favor? No opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was on the board. I passed already. It was just a suggestion. Can I?
Councillor Fertini, your comment?
Yeah, just quickly. So we have the $1 million enhancing for our parks. Am I correct? Per ward or per 2 wards?
No, you're right. So for the park enhancement fund, has it all been used? Because that was sort of my question before in regards to Commissioner Marlin. I thought there was some funds that were still been unused, that some of this could have been, when you say expedited, that some of these could have been quicker.
That's not what I was going to ask. I was going to ask maybe do the budget. Since every councillor likes their parks enhanced, we could increase it from $1 million to $1,500,000, and each pair of councillors chooses which park they like to use.
It's a bit off topic, but I'm showing my discretion as chair. So Ed, do you want to answer that question?
Through you, Mayor Brown. Yeah, there is the enhancement fund. I don't have the exact dollar amounts for each ward. That's something we can take back to have a look to see if there's any availability with certain amenities. But we'd have to go back and check on that first.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, to stop though, we have $1 million though per pair wards. Am I correct? For now, if we want to redo swings or parks or shade shelter in these parks?
Through the mayor, yes, there is a funding component currently.
Yeah.
The enhancement program, that's correct.
Okay, so maybe during budget, we could increase that, make every councillor, ward, pair councillor choose where they want to put these facilities. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, Councillor Singh. We have passed the motion.
I'm going to
already.
go 30 seconds off topic, but I do want to acknowledge, because a lot of these requests are coming in Rob and Anand, you had absolutely killed it for my ward this term with all the projects you guys have done. Thank you. I want to give a special shout out to Tony as well. She's phenomenal to work with. Thank you to both of you. You really listened to the community concerns. These are some leftovers. We'll work through these, but I just want to acknowledge both of your works, and then Marlon, of course, but both of you in particular. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
What I heard, 9 and 10 is getting special treatment. That's what I heard.
Okay. Next.
So, Mr. Mayor, sorry, because given Councillor Fortini's comment about the current status of the Park Enhancement Fund, if we wish to include that, I think we should take a vote again, because only part one was voted on.
I don't think we need it to be that out of the motion. I think Ed has said he would send it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your vote carries. Yeah.
Okay, the next item is an issue that was raised to Councillor Medeiros and myself. Bonnie Braes Park as seniors. And there's two parts of this. One, they've been asking for a gazebo for a long time, and so if we could have the cost of the structure reported back to Budget Committee. I believe Councillor Medeiros will second that motion. But also, an easement or road through Bonnie Braes Park that is never used but divided the park. They want to know the status in this and where the city can help. So right now, the park is divided in two, and there's an easement that doesn't allow them to and so that's what they want a city response on it, if they can help, because there's stone down the middle, but they said they've had seniors slip there because it's not proper sort of walking trail, and they were told it's because it's the easement. So Councillor Bowman can speak to this, and then maybe we can look at how we can wordsmith how we can attend to their concern.
Thank you very much, through you, Mr. Mayor. And Ed, I don't know if you can comment on that, but I thought that it was less of an easement and more of historical tree-lined road that led to the Bonnie Braes house that's there.
Through Mayor Brown, yeah, correct. It is up for interpretation and easement slash, but there's some trees there. We have started to look into possibly, because it's a lime screening path, at times it does sort of wash out. So if it's removing lime screenings and topping up to provide sod, for instance, as an option, is something we're already starting to look into. But I think you're correct, Councillor Bowman. That's the park with some sugar maples.
Okay, yeah. So can we get the opinion of the Heritage Board on that as well? Because it may be historical. That's the road that led with the big tall trees. That's the road that led into the house that's been saved there. So we may have to get the Heritage Department to weigh in on that as well.
So maybe the wording could be, Councillor Bowman, that that we consult with the Bonnie Braes Seniors Club and the Heritage Board on the concern around the pathway through the middle of the park.
Yep.
Sorry to give you stuff on the spot there, Peter. Charlotte. And so the consultation is not around the gazebo, it's around the pathway down the middle of the park.
Yep.
Looking up to Kuldeep, does that capture what the request was? Okay. Okay. Are you still on the board? No. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Hearing none, motion carries. Which is, we dealt with Algoma. Oh, this is a quick one. TV rights for the World Cup of Soccer for Garden Square and community centers. This is a suggestion of Councillor Medeiros. Half the national soccer team is from Brampton. It's incredible. It's an exciting moment. Atiba Hutchinson, and if we can play it, fantastic. Moved by Councillor Medeiros, seconded by myself. Anyone?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, Mayor Brown, can I just quickly comment?
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Mayor Brown, for bringing this. And the only thing I would like to say, and it's a challenge to staff, and I know you guys always do a great job putting on the Euro and the World Cup games, but being that there's been so much focus on Brampton and it's 7 players that could be 8, because I'm understanding a current TFC player might be called up to the national team. We really want to be, in my mind, and members of council can disagree with if they want, we want to be the headquarters of Canada for the World Cup. And, so I was thinking something along the lines, how Scotiabank does that home of hockey? If we can really look at how do we engage the city on the World Cup and also promote our local Brampton talent and really have a celebration that dignifies Canada's participation and also recognizing its diversity throughout the city. It's unfortunate we won't have Italy this year, so I'm hoping all my Italian colleagues on council will support Portugal. But I think we will have an amazing celebration, and understanding November is going to be cold, so I think you have to prep in terms of heat and I imagine it being sort of the Glove and Toque World Cup. So those are just some of the comments, but I look forward to what some brainstorming might be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. This takes us to, we'd already dealt with the Brampton Minor Ball Hockey League matters, scoreboard lighting. Our next item is the renaming of Cookview Park to Boris Nemtsov. That was the park identified by staff. And if you recall this to council, we passed this last year. This was the hero who spoke against the aggression on Ukraine. He lost his life for speaking up in Russia. And in Washington, D.C., they renamed the street in front of the Russian embassy to Boris Nemtsov Street. And I know the family's elated that they have this example in Canada. They're hoping for examples across the world. And they're going to be in Brampton, I'm told, the week of October 19th. And this is when it was sent to Natalie. And I'm told this is the motion that would be required to accommodate the park that was selected by staff. I'm happy to move it. Councillor Pleshy, you want to second it? Ukrainian churches in wards 2 and 6. All. Thank you. Councillor Singh too. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We'll just give Peter a chance to catch up. Yeah. And we got the date of the visit in October, right? That's included? Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, next one. Gazebos in Worthington Park and Van Scott Parkette. This comes from Councillor Paleshi. Move it to report to the costing of these gazebos to budget, if the park fund isn't already utilized. Moved by Councillor Paleshi, second by Councillor Willens. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, this was an issue that was brought up with me. I did speak to Councillor Medeiros about it. Haven't spoken to it with Councillor Bowman yet, but I'm sure you've heard about this too. Speed cushions in this neighborhood. I guess what's happened, because of the construction in the downtown, you have residents racing through this area. I'm not sure where it would be appropriate for speed cushions, but there's a real problem with the construction causing this area to be used as an ulterior faster route, and it's alarmed residents. I will let Councillor Santos and Bowman speak to this.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I was wondering if we could possibly add Councillor Vicente and I a request for speed cushions as well on Elwyn and Elburn Burkell. I know that that was a request to be added on the agenda today, and I'm assuming that this may be an appropriate area to have it considered.
Okay, take that as a friendly.
Thank you.
Councillor Bowman.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we've been waiting for the approved speed cushions on Elizabeth Street and Mill Street, and I think that's why it says here expedited, because they were told that they were going to be this year, and now they've been put off until spring of next year. And the residents were really, really upset about that. They were already approved. It was just they were put off, and I believe part of it as well, Michael, is when we reduced the lanes on Main Street, everybody started taking off down Frederick Street through Mill and Elizabeth up to Herald and then down and out. So it is, if you've taken any time to sit there and watch, it's crazy. And I believe you were speaking to Billy, who has the big ferry house on the corner. It was only a couple of years ago somebody ran right through and knocked right through the front of his fence, damaging the whole front of his property. So
I watched people race by.
Yeah. So these were already approved. We're just looking to expedite them now. Yeah.
Okay, so through the mayor to Councillor Bowman, we could certainly expedite this. I would suggest that perhaps in the interim, we could source out some temporary cushions.
I think it's particularly relevant given the construction.
Yeah.
Exactly, but just bear in mind that these temporary cushions have to be removed during the winter months for snow plowing purposes.
Okay, thank you.
And can we get the spelling of the friendly amendment for Councillor Santos?
So Elvin and Elvin Martel Drive.
Can you spell that?
Elwin and Elburn, Elbern, Markel, Markell Drive.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I have to ask because I don't know the cost of these. Is the cost of these in excess of $50,000 outside an approved budget?
So I think the first part is expedited, and the second part, if they're not planned, would be report back to budget. Michael, can you answer that?
Through the mayor, the temporary ones are approximately 3,000 a pop.
Oh, okay.
But the full ones, we have to have a fulsome evaluation, and often is the case is that we don't just put in one, it won't do anything. We'll have to put in a series of 6, 7, or 8, or up to 10 on that street. So with respect to the new request to Councillor Santos, we'd have to absolutely review if it's feasible or not.
Would temporary ones work for now? So can you use the word temporary? Okay. Okay, great. Okay, all those in favor?
Mr. Mayor, I'm on the board.
Oh, okay, Councillor Fertini.
Yeah. So didn't we go through this already, going back, that we were looking at each staff was supposed to sit with area councilors and see which area we wanted these? Going back, I think at the beginning of this year, it was a February, March, when we were talking about speed bumps, and we're still also sit with staff and look at certain areas. And I remember asking them if we're going to do asphalt, put them on an angle so the plows will follow that angle.
Yes, we did, Councillor Fertini.
So where is this with all the speed bumps? Where are we at now with staff? And we have to go through an amendment, I thought, or through budget. So I wasn't asking for them. And no staff's been sitting down to look at certain areas because I got some townhouse they cut through, and even where we did the park, on Shanahan there, the car went right into the house, and they've been waiting.
Okay, I'm looking at Michael, and I know he can send you an update on the status of what has been done since that motion, since that instruction.
Okay.
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 Okay. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
So, Mr. Mayor, just before we continue, I just want to remind members of council, it's now 6:30. We do have a Planning and Development Committee meeting at 7. And there is some light snacks in terms of pizza ordered for members of council that has arrived. So I would say if council wishes to continue, we should recess no later than 6:40 because we do require setup time for the next meeting.
Okay, great. So let's hit off as many as we can in the next 10 minutes. You can do 10 minutes. What? You can do 10 more minutes. Okay. Next item. We've already passed that one, right, Peter?
Yes, the next is 517.
Okay, children playing road sign at Loafers. Sorry, it's not Loafers. They spelled it wrong. It's Alwyn Drive and, you know the name of the road, Councilor Santos? The name of that park? Take out the word Loafers Park, just say Alwyn Drive, and the councillor can specify the name of the park.
Loafers Park on Elwyn. That's correct.
Sorry? Lafleur Park. Lafleur Park, okay.
Lafleur Park
Yeah. And Alwyn Drive.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor? Motion carries. Can, the next motion, can we get community input and staff report on a designated dog area for the Andrew McCandless Park? There's a request, a petition for this, and we'll just see if the broader neighborhood actually wants it. Moved by Councillors, Councillor Santos and Basante and Mayor Brown. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
519 was dealt with, part of consent.
520.
520 has not been dealt with.
Okay, who added this one?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This was added by staff, so there were two reports, an original report, a supplementary report. On August 10th, council referred it back to staff for further consideration. Staff requested these reports be added to today's agenda for a verbal update to council on this matter.
Through you, Mayor Brown, these reports were held out of concern of the way that we were funding the grant to Habitat for Humanity, or the loan to Habitat for Humanity for the development fees. It's my understanding that the treasurer has reached out to the two councillors with concerns and have cleared that up. So we're hoping that that was sufficient to pass the report, or to accept the report and allow us to move forward.
Okay. And who are the councillors? Councillor Basante? Councillor Basante?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the project in Wards 1 and 5 on William Street. Here in the conclusion, staff do provide 5 recommendations that we would like to move forward, and be moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Santos. Mr. Clerk, do you have those 5 recommendations that you could bring up for us?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have the recommendation that was in the supplementary staff report, and Charlotte will just bring it up momentarily. Okay. Because the two reports, the supplementary and the original report, were just for receipt. But there was an alternate set of recommendations. I think it's in the draft resolutions.
And this is moved by Councillor Basante and Santos?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, it may be, we need to review it to make sure, because council this may be outside council's decision-making authority.
So do you want to hold this down till you can verify? Yes. You got it? Okay. Was to include it in the budget submission.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, clause 3, recommendation 3 talks to an internal loan repayment amount of $122,000 be included in the 2023. So I'd look for advice from staff, but this appears to be clearly outside the decision-making authority of council under the restricted acts.
So why don't we just amend it to say refer to budget? Refer to budget.
So that could be a motion, is to refer this motion to Budget Committee for deliberations.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Basante, second by Councillor Santos. All those in favor? Motion carries. Our next item, aligning Miracle on Main Street and tree lighting. So very briefly, we had this fantastic array of amenities with Miracle on Main Street. The problem is we didn't have people, and it was fantastic. Many know the Tiger Jeet Singh family. Raised in Brampton, used to have big events at Jacuzzi Park. Tree lighting gets a ton of people, and so the reindeers, everything they brought, and local vendors coincide that with the tree lighting, so there'd be additional amenities for those that come down. If we could put the motion on the floor that I believe Communications has drafted, and I believe Councilor Medeiros and Dillon want to second this motion. I'm happy to move it. And this is in partnership with the Peel Police as well, who do the help with the toy drive with the Tigerjeet Singh Foundation. Okay, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is the request, I believe this is Councillor Dillon. Item 5.24, expediting speed cushions on the fallen roadways.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think we're at 522.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
5.22.
Oh, identification, same thing, for identification of a park in the East End and Brampton designated for dogs. And this is moved by Councillor Dillon, seconded by Councillor Singh.
Park, or no? The proposed concept plan, when I looked at it, I believed had a dog park.
Through Mayor Brown, sorry, Councillor Singh, was that Torbram said?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. There's
Yeah,
a,
so we do
for
have
23,
one.
that's correct.
Yeah, coming. We can still pass the motion and just clarify there is one coming and we're signing it.
Councillor Bowman?
I think. To you, Mr. Mayor, just want to interlude here for a second. We do have another piece of property we looked at, and Ed's not aware of it. It's a piece of property on the very eastern part of our city limits that is unbuildable. We were looking at it maybe in conjunction with the animal shelter. It doesn't suit the animal shelter, and we can look at that as well.
Okay. Excellent. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Now, we are 6:37, and maybe we'll get one more done. Amenities for parks in the east end of Brampton, Grey Wheel and Snowcap Parks. Councillor Dillon, I believe this is your motion. I think it was regards to shade shelters.
Yes, and so yeah, we do have Grey Wheel Park and Snowcap as well. For Grey Wheel Park, I know Councillor Singh, and I know yourself, Mayor Brown. We've had a number of issues at this park, and so Grey Whale, we also wanted to look into. I think it's coming up on to the full term of its playground as well. So I wanted to just add an amendment in terms of bringing back the costs of or information regarding when it's due for the replacement and the cost of it as well for Grey Whale Park.
Carries. And then we've got three, let me do it quickly. Expediting speed cushions on the fallen roadways, Garden Brook Trail, Maisonneuve Boulevard, Ray Avenue, Jacksonville Drive, Le Parc Road, Apple Valley Way. This is from Councillor Dillon, and I would just say, maybe add in the words, and where appropriate, temporary speed cushions. The temporary are under 50,000, Councillor Dillon.
Right.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor? Motion carries. And can we also get a staff report back, this item 5.25, on the request for traffic lights at the Hindu Temple Mandir at Countryside Drive and Frobisher Drive, and the traffic light at Countryside Drive and Yellow Avens Boulevard. So that would be a staff report for budget. Can we, is there a cost to the transportation study? Is the transportation study under 50,000?
100%.
Okay, it is. So, and initiate the transportation study. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Next item is the summary of planning recommendations, which will happen at 7 o'clock, so maybe this is a good time to recess.
There's a splash pad one at 5.28. This is from Councillor Singh? Okay, I already did that, so 5.28 is done. Okay, so at the advice of the clerk, we're going to pass a confirming bylaw for the items that we have dealt with.
Yes, so we'll
in case
just,
for some reason planning went.
through you, Mr. Mayor, we will, just before we recess, one of the last items of business we'll do is pass a confirming bylaw to confirm the actions and decisions of council up until this point in the meeting. And then my advice through you, Mr. Mayor, to council is that if council wishes to reconvene after adjournment of planning committee, that we reconvene a minimum 30 minutes after the meeting, because we do require time to get the planning committee recommendations from the 7 o'clock meeting ready for presentation to council when it resumes after planning committee this evening.
So we'll reconvene 30 minutes after planning committee, and we're going to pass the confirming bylaw now for what we've done so far.
Yeah, and then a further confirming bylaw will be passed later on in the council meeting after it resumes. If you can just go down one more.
Staff that don't need to be here for planning, don't need to be here for when we return to council.
And the clerk will make sure staff know who's necessary to have here.
Item 8.
If your item's already been
Item
dealt
9,
with,
sorry.
don't stay away from your family.
They can go home, they can get online. No.
Okay, confirming bylaw. Don't leave until we pass this. Confirming bylaw, moved by Councillor Willens, seconded by Councillor Singh. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. We got a lot of work done. Appreciate your indulgence today.
This meeting is now recessed.
This meeting is now recessed. We'll return 30.
Councillor Santos checking in.
Thank you, Councillor Santos. You're coming through loud and clear.
Okay, Council, we are back in session after our break for Planning Committee. We have a summary of the recommendations from the Planning and Development Committee, September 12th, 2022. It's moved by Councillor Paleshi, seconded by Councillor Fertini, that the summary recommendations from the Planning and Development Committee meeting of September 12th, 2022 to the Special Council meeting of September 12th, 2022 be received, and that the recommendations PDC 172-2022 to PDC 182-2022 be approved as outlined in the subject minutes. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Sorry, it's difficult. Motion carries. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the next item is 5.27, a discussion item at the request of Councillor Singh regarding a development application at 6875 and 6889 Mayfield Road. Councillor Singh?
Yeah, so this application, we were supposed to have consultation back with the residents, and what happened is once. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, I got cut off. Can you hear me? Yeah. So basically, what happened is it seems the developer lost their willingness to talk to residents, and because of that, the residents are asking for a position from us. My goal was to have open dialogue and see if we could work something out. But given actions on behalf of the developer, then I'd like to move that we support the residents and we don't accept the application. Thank you.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so just to advise Councillor Singh that this item has been appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and it is currently before the Ontario Land Tribunal.
But we have, I think, a certain date before we have to state our position.
There is notice that's been given at the direction of the Ontario Land Tribunal by Aird & Bearless to those persons that had expressed an interest throughout this development application. And those individuals have a certain amount of time to provide notice back to the Ontario Land Tribunal that they wish to either have participant or party status.
And what about the city? What's our position then?
I would have to defer to planning on that, or legal. I'm not aware of our position on that.
Through you to you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair, Alan Parsons here. I can advise through to you, Councillor Singh, generally that city legal will at some point in time in the future, in advance of the hearing occurring, bring a report to council seeking a position of council that legal then will pursue. But for greater detail than that, I would really defer to a member of legal services. But that's generally, my understanding, Councillor, of really what occurs in advance of the OLT hearings, that legal will be engaging with you to confirm direction from council by which legal would then pursue at the hearing.
Would legal like to add anything?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if there's anybody from legal on at the exact moment right now. I can advise that through information that the clerk's office has received from Aird & Bearless, which presumably was provided to others who had expressed an interest in this matter, is there is a case management conference scheduled for Wednesday, October 19th. And based on the information I've seen, I think the communication from Aird and Bearless to interested parties was, if you do have an interest in this, make your interest known as either a participant or a party to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and then all that will be assessed at this case management conference coming up in October. So I think we've seen correspondence from members of the public asking about how to get involved, and their method for getting involved is to contact the Ontario Land Tribunal.
And what about, because the city didn't take a position, what's going to be our position at this conference?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and as set out by planning, and with planning and legal, there will probably be a position that will have to be brought forward to council at some point to provide the city's position on this. I'm not sure if a city position is required by the case management conference on the 18th of October. I think that's just sort of figuring out logistics for how the appeal will be processed.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, and I would like staff to confirm, so my motion may be premature because this is just, like you said, a logistical exercise, but I would like that confirmed by planning staff because I don't want to lose opportunity to have indicated what the city's position is. So if I don't need to do that today, I'm okay with that, but I don't want to move ahead and the residents feel like the city just didn't take a position and at the end of the day, they got the short end of the stick. So if there's going to be another opportunity, if staff's going to report back and ask for a position, I'm okay with that. But I just need confirmation that will happen.
And through to you, Councillor Singh, and through Mr. Mayor, I can advise that I'll be following up with Stephen Ross from legal in particular to really seek some confirmation from the legal staff that's how they will be seeking direction, and they'll be engaging with council in that way. Councillor Singh, by all means, after I speak with Stephen Ross on that matter, I can speak with you directly just to make sure that information is conveyed to you clearly.
Okay, I'm good with that, so I'll withdraw this item for now. But please keep in mind, I don't want to hear after, we had no position in this issue. So we'll talk offline and just keep that in mind. I don't want to miss any critical timelines. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Palashi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess my only words of advice would be that if we don't have a position now, and the reason why we were at the OLT or OMB or BCC, whatever it's called, is because we don't have a position. That was the appeal. I would maybe say to Councillor Singh, if you wanted to put forward a position now, I would support your position as you being the area councillor, just in case we weren't to have any more council meetings for whatever reason. Especially if if their date is October 18th.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, October 18th is the date cited by the Ontario Land Tribunal for a case management conference on this matter.
But I again refer to the area councillors. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is it premature to put the position, or we are in the middle of election? So if we could, I would rather put the position right now.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Through you, Mr.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Jason, were you going to speak? My apologies.
Yes, if I may. I think we have to be careful here how we proceed. I think I've been advised by staff that staff have already had a positive report. Alan, you may want to, we can get back to Councillor Singh offline sometime early this week. And I think what the clerk was trying to say here is that the meeting that was called for the conference we don't need to have a position at that point. And if staff had a positive report before, we may need to hire an external counsel if we are changing our position.
Okay, we'll talk offline and then we'll take it from there.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
The next item, 5.28, was a request from Councillor Singh regarding a splash pad at Mount Royal Circle, but I think that's been dealt with in a previous consideration. Subdivision assumptions have been dealt with. The next item is 5.3.4, held by Councillor Paleshi, request to begin procurement for electric vehicle charging stations, Phase 1, 120 Sandalwood Parkway West in Ward 2.
Councillor Paleshi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I understand the difficulties in reporting to members of council without all of the information because we don't want too much of the information to get out. But realistically, with the money that's already been allocated through the budget, anybody could actually go back into the budget to find that dollar figure. So that being said, I won't hold up this report. I understand that the costs are the cost. I think they're too expensive, but we're the public sector and we pay double for everything anyways, triple sometimes. But we need to really figure out a different way of doing business for procurements. We really, really do. And if, I'm sure all municipalities say it, we actually have to do something. Happy to move the report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Fertini. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the next item then is public question period. And I just wish to confirm, I don't think there are any questions. There are none, and there is nobody in the audience to come forward with questions. So the next item would be item 7, bylaws.
Moved by Councillor Santos, seconded by Councillor Singh. For bylaws 194, 2022 to 202, 2022 before council at a special meeting of September 12, 2020 be given the required number of readings, taken as read and signed by the mayor and the city clerk and the corporate seal affixed thereto. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
The next item is closed session. So the items were dealt with, either withdrawn or dealt with on consent, but in regard to item 8.4, negotiation matter, there is a public motion, which we will bring up on the screen. And it is on the screen. It requires a mover and seconder.
What ward is it again?
All
wards.
I think it is in the, I probably shouldn't say because it may give away.
Moved by Councillor Paleshi, seconded by Councillor Medeiros. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next item is the confirming bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council up to this point.
Moved by Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Willens. The following bylaw before council of special meeting of September 12th be given the required number of readings, taken as read and signed, the mayor and city clerk and the corporate seal affixed thereto.
Councillor Bowman is on the board.
Councillor Bowman.
Thank you. I'd just like to ask a question, and it was, if I can, I know there's no councillor question period, so I'll ask. Can I ask a question?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there is no councillor question period as there is a committee at council, because council is making final decisions. Is it a question in relation to business on tonight's agenda?
Well, it's a question regarding our next meeting.
Perhaps then maybe that could be a question that can be asked just before an adjournment, because the adjournment speaks to the next scheduled meeting.
Okay, yeah, that's where I thought we were anyway. So okay, just, yeah, I'm here when the confirming bylaw is done.
Okay. Anyone opposed to the bylaws? Hearing none, the motion carries.
So the next item through you, Mr. Mayor, is item 10, adjournment. The next scheduled council meeting is the regular meeting on September 28th.
The screen's frozen.
Should I ask my question now?
Yes.
Yeah, you can ask your question. Our screen is frozen, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering, is this going to be the normal course of action from now till the election, that we cancel council meetings and cancel committee meetings, and we just call special meetings whenever we have something that we want to put on the agenda? Because I don't think that's fair to block out the residents. It's not transparent to not face and not talk about some of the things that were on the other two council agendas. So I'm just wondering, are we going to get a chance to cover off the items that were on the other scheduled meetings, or are we just going to continue to ignore them and go this route and cancel every meeting?
So I'm at the will of council. Council Bowman, if council wants to have meetings, they can. And I will take instruction from council. I would say Toronto and Mississauga, I don't believe have meetings during this period. In this case, there was a number of items that needed to be approved, and from city staff and from councillors that brought it to me, and I was happy to indulge by calling a special meeting. If there's requests that come forward in the future, then happy to do so again. But generally, during an election period, it is an opportunity for councillors to be in front of the electorate, and the council meetings normally don't take place. Peter looked into this with the history in Brampton last time, and what's happening in Toronto and Mississauga, and I'm happy to have Peter speak to that.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the last term of council, there was two meeting cycles that were scheduled. One was canceled, but one was held. And in 2014, I believe there was one meeting cycle that was held. So yeah, there's different conventions in different municipalities. The mayor's right that Mississauga and Toronto have decided not to have regular meetings. There are other municipalities that do have regular meetings. As of now, there currently are what I would call 4 significant meetings still scheduled on the calendar before the end of the term. There is the September 26th Planning and Development Committee meeting, which I believe public notice has already been given for a number of statutory public meeting items. There is the September 27th Audit Committee meeting, which is scheduled currently, and there is a September 28th City Council regular meeting. And before that, there is a September 21st Committee of Council meetings scheduled. So those are the 4 last set of significant meetings that are currently scheduled as part of the council-approved meeting calendar.
Okay, and the reason I asked is because there has been no opportunity given for anybody, any members of the public, any of the delegations, in fact, any other people who are running for office, to come in and comment about any of the decisions this council's made in the past 3 weeks to a month. So I would really like to see one of these or both of these meetings held so that the agenda items can be taken care of. There was an agenda item that was not taken care of today, and that was the Holland Christian Homes, whether that is, the need for them to apply for their funding. I don't know whether that is critical or not, but something like that needs to be taken care of. And personally, I don't see any reason why any of these items tonight could not just have been added to a regular meeting schedule. But again, it's the mayor's decision to cancel meetings when he so desires. So I will leave it at that. Thanks.
Councillor Bertini.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if we have a planning meeting, don't we need a council, or are we going to have it right after again to approve the next planning?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, there is precedent for committee meetings at the end of a term from those sets of minutes to go to the new term of council. I believe that happened between 2018, the old term, and this current term. There were minutes from various committees that met in September. I'm not sure if any met in October, and they came to council in the new term. So to my knowledge, and I haven't looked at the agenda, the planned agenda for the September 26th Planning and Development Committee meeting, I'm not aware if there is anything that is urgent. But presumably, if there is planning staff, the commissioner will identify those. And if the meeting on the 28th, the regular meeting of council continues as currently scheduled, that's where those recommendations and minutes would land for council consideration and approval before the end of the term. If that doesn't occur, that meeting doesn't occur, and a special meeting is called, a special meeting could be called to deal with those minutes as well, or they could land into the next term of council if they're not urgent.
Okay, so I know one of the committees were canceled, so we won't have any committee before council?
So all I can say right now, through you, Mr. Mayor, to council, is there are 4, as I said, significant meetings currently still scheduled.
Yeah.
The 21st, which is Committee of Council, the 26th, which is Planning and Development Committee, the 27th, which is Audit Committee, and Council, which is the 28th.
Okay. Just talking to the mayor, he said there was nothing urgent through the CEO and yourselves. That's why the meetings were canceled. But anyway, I think we should have a council meeting. If we have a planning, we should have at least a special council meeting for the planning. Then not let it go to the next term. Anyway, I'll leave it to the mayor. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Fertini. A motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Fertini, seconded by Councillor Dillon. Anyone opposed? Hearing none.